Noah Kagan, man, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Dude, I'm excited about this. I have known you for a long time. I know you as an early over at Facebook. Would you be a billionaire if that would have stayed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, wow, rub it in. Wow, welcome to the show.
Let's just start with the heartache. Okay, so I know you as early at Facebook, early at Mint. I know you built AppSumo, which does almost 9 figures a year. Like, not just a 9-figure business, but like you guys, ridiculous levels of, ridiculous. AppSumo is an amazing company. I've bought a lot of stuff from you guys.
Hell yeah.
Author of brand new book, $1 Million Weekend, not the $1 Million Weekend, just $1 Million Weekend. I got that wrong earlier. I swore I'd never do it again. And and a prolific YouTuber. I mean, your clips go ridiculously viral. You're like the Daniel Mack who does the car. Like, what do you do for a living? But you're doing that with houses and yachts and everything else.
Planes.
Yeah. All right. So that's who the world knows you as today.
Yeah.
But who was Noah Kagan?
Yeah, I was texting my brother this morning, and I was telling him, like, I feel so lucky where everything is today. Like, I'm 41 years old. Girlfriend's pregnant, which is unbelievable. Yeah. I love my life here in Austin, Texas, where I live, and then we spend half the year in Spain. AppSumo, a book, and I feel so lucky to have people like you and others around me. I feel very blessed. And he's like, yeah, your life seems that way. And
yeah, somebody beat the truck backing up out here. That's all right. We're rolling with it.
And I was like, for me, underneath the water and from my 20s and 30s was a very challenging time where I felt very lost. I felt very angry, felt very sad. I had these just like wild swings of emotion where, okay, fine, I'm finally trying to prove myself, right, that these people that fired me and fired me again, Facebook and Mint, that like, can I finally be worthy? And, I was living on floors, even though I was making 6 figures. I was just being cheap. And I was living in my aunt's basement, and just a lot of really dark times until I think later in my 30s where I finally felt like I started to understand myself and accept myself. And that's led me, though, with a lot of different things to be at a point where today I'm like, oh, my God, thank you. And I'm so grateful to be here at 41 and be able to enjoy the life than I'd say a lot of darker times in that earlier period trying to figure it out.
How much do you think of the last, and we can talk about the Facebook thing, but how much do you think of the last 20 years, was because of that, was because of the firing, or was it you would have been there anyway? Does that make sense? Like, like, was that just your personality to struggle through those years, or was it because of the firings?
Probably a little bit of both. I think a lot of times, especially men, want their dads to be proud of them. And so I started these businesses. I went to my dad, and he was just like, okay. And I was like, nothing? I think the Facebook, it still creates, and maybe it's, surprising, but it still creates insecurity in me these days sometimes where I'm like, am I actually a good CEO? Did they know something I didn't know? Can I actually still do it? And, you do things enough times over and over and over again. You're like, okay, I'm pretty good at this stuff. I can feel good about myself with what I can do. But yeah, I would say one thing for everyone, it's like, find some hardship. Go look for something hard. And I am thankful to get fired. I think everyone should get fired. Even go get a fake fired. And then, it kind of made me realize that, I can, things can be taken away from me, and entrepreneurship is one of the ways that you can have control over your destiny, and never again will one person really decide my fate. But that, and frankly, a lot of therapy, being around good people, finding out what I like and don't like in life, there's a lot of things to lead me to get to where I am today.
So what got you fired at Facebook?
I was at Coachella. You know Coachella?
Yeah,
I haven't gone back in 20 years. I was listening to Block Party. You remember them? They're so good. Familiar. So good. And it was numerous things, but I'd say number one, I was at Coachella. I was high and drunk, listened to Block Party, great music, and I wanted Facebook to promote what we were doing. I was really excited. I think find work you're excited to do. Like, I love my book, so I'm excited to fly here today in the morning and fly back out in 2 hours, 3 hours, because I'm excited about it, and I felt like I need to be with you. And I was excited. We were opening Facebook from just college students to professional. So if you had an @Microsoft email, you could join. And I emailed TechCrunch, which was like the blog at the time that everyone read. And I emailed him and said, hey, this is coming out in the morning. Can you please write about it? I want press for Facebook. He released it that night. And I emailed Mark and the executive team and said, hey, I'm the one that told. And then a few days later, I was fired. And so that was one of the things. But I think it was also I wasn't able to grow with the business. I didn't, frankly, want to grow with the business. My dream was always to have my own company at some point. And I think at that time, they were like, wow, this guy's a liability. And that's what they called me. And that like stuck in my head for so long, like, all right, you're going to mess this stuff up, and you're going to keep messing this stuff up. And it took a lot of time to finally realize, like, maybe messing stuff up my way is okay.
Yeah.
And I wasn't supposed to be a part of that journey. And I think for myself too, it led me to think, okay, I want to create my own money. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to have to figure out my own way.
What did you learn from your dad? I know he was somewhat of a entrepreneur as well.
Yeah.
What did you learn from him that's benefited you or maybe hurt you?
My dad came from Israel, didn't speak English. He worked at Sears. Remember Sears?
Yeah, yeah.
It's funny now as you get older. It's like, you remember Macy's? Yeah. It's like, what's that?
You remember like Google?
Yeah,
that site
GeoCities.
Google?
Yeah. I was Binging it. I don't know who uses Bing. And I think, I remember my father passed away, which was very tragic for me. And yeah, I was really sad about that for a very long time. And I think we're surprised that, there's no time limit on tragedy. And that's okay. And it's okay for it to process however long it takes. But learning from as a kid, I remember a lot of different things. I remember we'd be in his van and it was just disgusting. He would I would sit on a bucket. Like the guy was just a slob. And I think that's why it made me probably overcompensate with trying to be clean and shower regularly and, not be a mess in my house. And I just remember that he had no fear. Like one of the stores, we go to Carl's Jr. Do you remember Carl's Jr.?
Yeah. It's like Hardee's, right?
They're Hardee's.
Related somehow.
Yeah, and he would get a hamburger and then go to the salad bar and make it a cheeseburger. And I was like, Dad, you're not supposed to do that. He's like, I'm gonna do what I want. I think to be clear, I actually don't think that has integrity because I think you're stealing from them. But what I admired about him as a young kid, I was so embarrassed, but he had no fear to ask. He was never afraid to ask for anything. And I remember we also went to a garage sale. I think I was about 10. And there's a carpet. And this guy's buying the carpet from the person selling. And my father, he doesn't speak English very well. He's from Israel. He's like, you're buying the carpet? How much is the carpet? And the guy's like, I'm buying it. The guy who's buying it is like, no, I'm already buying it. I'm giving the money. He's like, I'll double the payment, $100. And the guy selling it is like, well, he's offering 100. And then the guy who was originally going to get it was like, well, all right, screw it. And he walks away. And then my dad offers the guy 50. And as a kid, I was just so uncomfortable. And now that's me.
Yeah.
Not doing the thing, because I think what he's doing is kind of shady. But the essence of the fact that he would go door to door selling copiers without speaking English.
Yeah.
Right. And I think I really admired his ability to ask in entrepreneurship with $1 Million Weekend. And in general, it's how do we get good at asking? Yeah. Come on my show, be my customer, be my first partner, whatever that is. And I think with his asking ability, it also made me realize these immigrants, you could be an immigrant in your own country. And the immigrant mentality, which is a lot of the most successful people at AppSumo are immigrants. Mm-hmm. They have two things in common that is universal. What I always found fascinating, and my dad had it too, is they can control their attitude and they can control their effort. And that's what has led him and I think a lot of other immigrants to be successful because he's like, well, I'm going to eventually have to figure this out. The other thing I would say lastly is entrepreneurship. I remember just being in his van and he would go cold call or he would go door to door and he'd carry these heavy ass copiers, but then he also got so much money and he would take us to Costco. Do you remember Costco?
I go every week.
Dude, Costco is now that I'm an adult.
Yeah,
and
it's like Disneyland.
Dude, I love Costco. And he would take us, he's like, you guys can get the Jordans. Or you can get clam chowder. I don't know why that's what I thought of, but it would be clam chowder. He's like, you can get two. And he would say in the accent, he just had all this money. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And I knew I didn't want to have lift copiers, but I knew I could have the freedom like him, where we can go jet skiing, or we can go to Israel, or we can go to Mexico, wherever we wanted, because he had his own business.
Yeah.
He ended up losing everything to drugs and alcohol. So that was another kind of lesson I learned later in life, which is how do you hedge enough to protect yourself? And maybe I probably overcompensated for that, but definitely just so many different lessons that I was fortunate to be around him, as well as my mother and my stepfather, who were the complete opposite. Super middle class, hated/loved the regular middle class jobs, computer programmer and a nurse, saved money, 2-week vacations, and you retire at 60, which is a very traditional path, which there's nothing wrong with it. And I like that I at least got to see both perspectives.
Yeah.
To be able to choose my own.
Yeah, that's amazing, man.
I felt lucky with it.
You mentioned the fear of asking. This is something that I struggle with deep, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that resonated in your book a lot is you talk a lot about that, overcoming that fear. And I don't know why that is, but even asking for just normal things, somebody makes my coffee wrong at Starbucks. I will not typically ask them to remake it. I will just suck it up and I'll throw it away and I'll go to another Starbucks.
Yeah.
And I'll get the right drink. That's how.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's bad. And I'm learning to deal with it. In fact, I got a coach right now, a performance coach that I talk with a lot, and we're dealing with this.
Right.
This is gonna sound so stupid
this is a good one.
silly. I get in an Uber comfort, right? When you get Uber comfort, you get to choose temperature and conversation, right? I do not want to talk to an Uber driver. Like, I'm sure they're great people, but I really like that time of like, I can work or I can read or I can
100%.
meditate, right? I really value that quiet time. I got kids, I don't get a lot of it. I never choose the option on the app even to say no conversation because I feel bad asking them not to talk to me. Like, that's how deep it runs, man. This morning on the drive here though,
Wow.
I did it. For the first time ever.
And
I
how
like,
was it?
No conversation. It was wonderful. I actually worked on a little bit of this interview, like what I was going to talk to you about. I had a great 30-minute drive over here. And the guy, I guarantee you, he probably appreciated that because I don't think he wanted to talk to me.
Maybe you won't shut up.
Yeah. I think,
it's
deep,
interesting.
man.
I don't think people recognize this is what's holding them back from success.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the bigger things to even realize to begin with, which is
1,000%.
yeah, if you don't ask for things, you're not going to get things.
Yep.
Like, I think with my dating life in the past, it's always like, I just got what I got. I didn't get what I wanted. And to get what you want, you have to know what you want to start, and then you have to ask for it. And so, you know, what you've done, it sounds like, is you have this big fear of asking.
Yeah.
Right? And so how do we make it fun? And then how do you practice it in a small way where, as you do it in small things, and let me be crystal clear here, there's times where I don't, like, I used to ask all the time for my dressing not to be on the salad.
Yeah.
And if you put dressing on the salad, I was like, dude, you might as well just ruin my whole day. Like, I'm basically going to give up this entire year because I told you no, and I would ask them to send it back. And now as I'm getting older, it's like, am I going to sweat every single thing? No.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to make everything a war. But how do we make it the things we actually matter to us we can ask for? And you can do really stupid ask examples to practice. So as you get to other things you might want, maybe it's a raise, maybe it's a customer, maybe it's someone to be on your show, that you feel more comfortable with that. Because a lot of businesses getting started and then asking. Those are really the two things that people have to get going on. So this morning I was at the Nashville airport, and this is the simplest one you could do. It's called the compliment challenge. Just go compliment someone and then ask them where they got their clothes from. So I went up to this guy, he had a great jacket. And you cannot negotiate with yourself. He had the jacket, and I was like, I don't want to do it. I'm just trying to go see Brandon. I've got to get out of the airport. And it was like, nope, that's the moment. And we all have those moments.
Yeah.
That's the moment we're deciding, do we want to trust ourselves and feel good about who we are? And so I went up to him and I said, hey man, nice jacket. It's Costco, right? And he's like, dude, it's Costco. I was like, I took a photo of me in this jacket. I can show you later. But the point being is, it's really silly, right? It's silly, right? It's silly. It's like cool clothes. Or I did it with shoes for this other woman. She got them at JCPenney's. But the point is, it's a small thing where I'm complimenting them, so they're happy to talk to me. Ask them where I got it. And then you start realizing, okay, maybe you get rejected, maybe you don't, but you can start doing that on bigger things because you've practiced now on silly things. Like in, $1 Million Weekend, I've seen it with like Dieter and Jason, all these people. The coffee challenge is probably the most famous ask thing I've ever come up with because I've seen the results, which is when you go to Starbucks, you ask for 10% off and you wait. You could say Kagan sent you, or $1 Million Weekend is I'm doing this book, but you get rejected.
Yep.
And they say no, and you're like, okay, fine.
Yeah, nothing happened.
But you might actually get a discount. You might actually get the upside of the benefit of asking. The thing that's crazy, I was at the airport this morning. Was it months ago? I stood outside a private airport and asked people to go on their private jets.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Dude.
And then I got a flight. One of the guys' name is James. I don't know who he is. I didn't know him at the time. He was he's wearing a Miller High Life shirt, the beer. And so don't judge people about it. You never know someone's story. I said, hey man, stood outside the airport. We're doing a film. You can see it on YouTube. It's got 5 million views. Could check out your jet? We're doing YouTube. This is my dream this year. It's like, he said no at first. And I kind of was like, hey, you sure? And he said, yeah, fine, come. I got to go. Go on the jet. And I was like, can we go with you? And so he let me and Isaac, our videographer, fly with him to Boston.
Wow.
And so the point, though, is that all started with just giving a compliment or doing a coffee. You don't have to go wait outside airports. I'm not encouraging people to. And actually, yesterday I was outside, or 2 days ago, I was outside of the private airport again. And the guy's like, what are you doing here? But you do it in small things, and then you realize a lot of business, it's fun, it's simple, and really by getting started and asking, you can really start any business or do almost anything you want in life.
Yeah, that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
There is almost an identity issue there where it's like this. It's deeper than the asking for coffee,
I
right?
love
It's like
that.
my identity says like I don't ask people for things because I don't want to be rejected. Why don't I be rejected? well, that's a whole therapy session in itself. Like, where does that come from, right? But once I can overcome that in the small things and asking for coffee, it does, or saying no conversation in a car, it extrapolates out to all areas of your life. And it's, again, not just asking, I think. It's deep. It's like just weakness in general. It's a word like I've been thinking a lot about the last couple of weeks. It's just like, that is a weakness in me, not of me, but in me. Like there's something weak in me that fears rejection from somebody. And so once I can start dealing with that on a small scale, I can start dealing with that on a larger scale. So what I mean by that, to be real specific, right? If I'm afraid to be rejected from something, it's something small, I may also refuse in something big. So let's just say somebody's, I'm having an employee who's just terrible and I don't want to fire them, or I don't want to ask them to get better because I'm afraid of that. Well, that can derail not only my money, but I've raised money from 2,500 investors, like millionaires who have given me their money. Now I'm derailing their future because I'm afraid to deal with the inner weakness. And so it begins with the coffee. Beautiful. It begins with the shirt, right? And I just need to get better there. So that's what I'm working on it.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these things, we started with like the challenges of my 20s. It's being patient with that. That like, hey, I'm not an expert immediately day one. It's like, you never were an expert in anything day one, but you can kind of keep doing that. And what most people don't realize about success, and it's all relative, I would say, but I would say, monetary success, which me and you have both achieved, they're not like, I was posting about the shows I'm going on, and I post every week to the launch team for the book, all the shows I'm going on. And I shared last week, I was like, here's all the shows that said no to me, because you're not seeing that. Yeah. And a lot are saying no to me, a lot. But that one no is one away from a yes, which is then I'm now here in Nashville with Brandon Turner. And that's part of, I would say, success, which is like, can you step up, which everyone can, and face the rejection and then keep going, which everyone can.
And a lot of this is reframing. I once heard somebody on the Bigger Pockets podcast back in the day who said, this was probably 10 years ago and it stuck with me to this day. He said he used to be afraid of when sellers would call him on the phone to want to sell their house because I don't know what to say, I don't want to get rejected, I'm scared of that. And then he was told the advice, remember that every single phone call is worth like $8,250. And he's like, what does that mean? It's because if you average it out, if you had 100 phone calls and 10 of them ended up working out and you make $100,000 over your life with it, however the number works out, right? Like every phone call, whether you get it or not. So then I use that today to say like every book I've ever read has made me $1 million. Every nonfiction book has made me $1 million. If you average them out on average over a whole lifetime, I've read a couple hundred business books and I will have a net worth of well over, I'm sure, $200 million. So therefore, if I hadn't read no books, I'd have no net worth, I don't think.
Unless it was just $1 million.
Unless it was just $1 million
$200 million book.
It's when you think in averages like that, all of a sudden the fear then of rejection is a little bit less. Because I'm like, well, I understand. This is door-to-door salesmen know this intuitively, right? If I knock on 20 doors, one will invite me in, and one of them out of 10 is going to actually buy the product. So great. Every door is just one more I got to knock. And it's still
man. I think what I've noticed from a lot of people who want different things in life, they're not ready. They're trying to be prepared, and they're afraid of that rejection. And that's what's really holding them back. And it's like, okay, how do I face the thing that's hard in my life? And maybe by facing that, maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's getting your first real estate deal. Maybe it's a book. Maybe it's starting your own business. Maybe it's getting a promotion. Like, if I could just face this a little bit, how much further ahead could I be? If I can just be a little bit uncomfortable for a moment, but the upside of it is amazing. And even, the book for myself, I was very afraid, could I actually write something? Even though I've done it time and time again, I've helped so many people, like, can I actually do it? So I try to avoid it as long as possible. And then when I finally faced it, I was like, let me just do the hard work of putting in the book, working with thousands of people to see if they'll actually get results. And I was like, oh, wow, I can. But, in my 20s and 30s, I was like, I cannot. Yeah. And that again takes time, and it's like positive self-talk, which I don't know if it gets talked about enough, but like, how do we work on our own positive self-talk to like, hey, you got rejected? That's okay. That person, let's go find someone who'll say yes to you.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Well, I want to dig into the book. I want to talk about how to build $1 million business in a weekend. I want to know what that means and how you frame that. But before we do, one thing unique about this show that we always do is 100% of the ad revenue from every episode goes to a charity of the guest choosing.
Love that.
So where should we throw the money from this episode?
So you're in Maui.
I am.
I would love for all the money to go to laptops for kids.
Okay.
For the lowest income school in Maui.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah.
That's great. Why does that like
resonate with me?
Yeah, resonate with you.
So I did sumo charity rides, and it's the same thing, but I do it in Austin for that money. I want everyone to at least have the chance to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like literally a laptop, which almost everyone can get, and if not, we're going to help them get it, can change your life. Yeah. And you can do it anywhere now, especially more than ever. You can change your life worldwide for almost free. Like you don't even have to spend a lot of money to do that. And that's amazing. And so it's always been exciting for me. It's like, why not at least have, if you don't want to do the work, fine, that's on you. But if you want, at least have the chance to do it.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right, well, with that said, let's roll the ad.
If you're a real estate investor, you need two things. You need deals and you need money. Now, deals is something you can turn on and off. You can learn how to get deals, off-market stuff, whatever. Money, though, that's something you got to apply for, you got to be approved for, and it's a gigantic pain in the butt. So how do we get both those things across the line? Well, if you're a member of the Better Life tribe, we teach how to get deals all the time. If you need money, though, go to betterliferef.com. That's betterliferef.com. It stands for Better Life Real Estate Funding. Whether it's hard money, a refinance, whether it's an initial purchase, we can help you get your loan across the finish line. Check us out, betterliferef.com.
Welcome back from the ad.
Yeah, welcome back from the ad, man. All right, so $1 Million Weekend. Why? Let's start with why. Why write it? It's not easy to write a book.
It is not. It's easy to write a book. It's hard to write a book people want to read.
Okay. Yeah, ChatGPT can help you write a book in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But
you know, it was my dream. I had a dream to write a book, and then in the past few years, personally, I wanted something that was going to take a long time, and it was going to be hard. I think a lot of time nowadays, it's like, hey, I'm trying to get real estate really quickly, or I'm trying to get a tweet really quickly, or trying to get YouTube really quickly. And it's like, why don't we choose something that's the opposite of that? And doing a book takes a long time to actually get going together. And this was, for me, something that I was like, what's the book I wish I had when I was getting started? Like, you know, I came out of college, worked at Intel.
yeah.
You know, and I was like, what's the book? So I read back in the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I think was like one of the signature books.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. I want to be the rich dad. What do I do? I don't know. There's nothing. There's no book for the person that's like, I want to get a business started today.
Yeah.
And we all have 52 weekends a year to do something. And, you know, especially if you have a family, it's like, it's hard to make time.
Yeah.
And so this is the book that I wish I had for myself.
Yeah, actually, those are the exact words I said after I read it. I said this, I can't remember if I texted my wife or somebody. I said, I wish I had this book like 20 years ago.
Thank you, man.
There's this idea, and especially, and I'd love you to talk a little bit about the idea of, what is it, now, not how? Is that the idea? Like most people spend, like, okay, first step, I got to do market research for a year. I got to do this, I got to do this, and then
Business
someday,
plan.
business plan, and why are you against that idea of just?
Well, let me even give you, let's do a brand new example. So you've done pretty well in real estate, let's say.
Yeah,
not
decently,
bad,
you know, okay.
right? So let's say people want to do real estate.
Sure.
Right? What do most people do? All right, I need to buy a course.
Yep.
Well, I need to get money for a down payment.
Yep.
Maybe I need to go listen to 3 more Better Pocket podcasts. I need to follow everything Brandon Turner's ever done. And then I need to go look for properties. That's 6 months to look for properties.
Yep.
Then I'm going to put in how many offers. Those get rejected. You get 1 through. And then now a year later, maybe you have a property. And hopefully we can talk how much real estate sucks. Yeah. I hate real estate.
Good. I would love to hear this.
Yeah, real estate, great. I made a 7% return. Wow.
Yeah.
You know, AppSumo, I've made an unlimited % return.
Sure.
And so...
$12
So let's take the now, not how mindset.
Okay.
All right. How can I do real estate today? So think about it. 1, cleaning.
Yep.
Like I literally have people I pay $150 I have a few Airbnb, like they get paid $150 each time. Could I message anyone I know that owns property and say, hey, do you have Airbnb? Do you have a cleaning? Can I be your cleaner for your Airbnbs?
Yep.
That you can do right now. They probably even have all the materials like the brooms and stuff. Didn't cost me any money. I could do it right away.
Yeah, and you're making money.
Yeah,
right
same
away.
thing with property management.
Yep.
I want to get into real estate. I want to do something like that. Can I just go manage someone's property?
Yep.
Literally, again, no upfront cost, really no upfront time. And the now, not how mindset, we survey all the beta readers. We've had 1,300 go through every single page of the book. This is the #1 takeaway. I was surprised by it. It's not what I expected. I thought there was going to be, you know, I've started a lot of businesses. I've worked for Zuckerberg and all these different things. And I'm like, you don't want any of the other stuff? Like, no, just getting started right now and not worrying about the how.
Yeah.
Where, especially, let's take an e-commerce business. I want to do e-commerce business for microphones, or I want to do e-commerce business for water bottles, whatever it is. I need a Shopify. I need a domain. I need to build a YouTube channel.
Yep.
All right, I need to go source an Alibaba. I need to go get a logo thing from Fiverr. All right, let's try now, not how. If you had to do it right now, what do you need to do? Like, what do you need to do right now to get it going? Because most people don't think they're ready, and they are. They don't need, there's no gap of like some guru has some secret. Just how do you do it right now? And so if you want to start a water bottle company, hit up 3 people, see if you can sell them a water bottle.
Yeah.
Right now. That's why we practice asking and starting as the beginning of the book. So when you get into these businesses, you're like, oh, yeah, this is all it is.
Can you talk about the sumo jerky as an example of that?
Let me give you an even more recent
Okay,
one.
please.
So I read the book, and I
Should
did.
hope so.
Me and another 2 months ago, I had Jake live at my house. He's a guy in Dallas. He did the book, and then last week I did the book. So I for 48 hours followed $1 Million Weekend, and the idea was I'm not going to use any of my social media, so it's equal to other people, and I'm going to let my audience choose all the ideas. Because then they'll have all the ideas. And so a lot of them were like, all right, go do an offline business outside, like some kind of construction business, maybe like lawn care, or do some like AI software related business. Okay, sounds cool. So I went and knocked on doors. That's a lot of my videos and stuff like that. I knocked on doors trying to sell my neighbors lawn care. No one bought. It was very uncomfortable. It was very uncomfortable going to my neighbor's like, dude, don't you run AppSumo? Yeah. Like, what do you? And I put on like funny clothes, and they're like, I'm like, it's YouTube, dude. I'm doing some YouTube stuff. And they're like, no, but they all rejected me. And again, let's go back to the beginning. You have to get started, and you have to ask. Yeah. And guess what? Just by doing the swings, like for you, you've done. How many things have you done that did not work out?
A lot.
Right? But then people think like, oh no, I got to have one swing. And what's crazy about business is that you only need one swing to work.
Yeah.
It's the same in relationships. You only need one great partner to find as a husband or wife.
Yeah.
But you can increase your odds by swinging a lot.
Yeah.
So then with software.
Is that an advertisement for hookup culture?
No. No, I'm saying.
Different woman every night. And after 10 years, you will have so many at-bats.
That might be. No, I am not encouraging hookup culture. No, 41-year-old Noah is this. I would say my biggest regret in life is actually not being more intentional with my dating in my 20s.
Yeah.
Really being intentional about who I am, what I need, what I like, and what kind of partner that could be in the next year.
Because there's a quantity and quality issue.
Yeah, it was just like more, oh, you'll take me? Sure, I'll take it.
Yep.
And that's a self-worth thing that's taken time for me to get to. So with the software thing, it was kind of like, I thought about I think the best businesses are the ones you enjoy yourself, where you're always going to be a customer. Personally, because at least you're going to have one happy person. Obviously, there's other things that you need to follow in the system to make sure it's $1 million opportunity and to make sure there's customers for it. So for me, I hate hello sign. In real estate, you'd have a bunch of DocuSign and hello sign. Yep. And I even though, yes, I'm a multimillionaire, I make a lot of money, the company makes a lot of money, we do super well, I still like, it's like $20 a month. I like create new accounts because you get 3 cents per month. And I know, it's like, so it's petty, but like it just irritates me. And so I was like, I hate paying for it. I'd love to have that kind of software myself. DocuSign, you can go then do, there's more details in the book, but basically DocuSign's $11 billion company by itself.
Wow. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I hate subscriptions, and AppSumo is a pay once, no subscription business. Maybe if I can create this in a weekend and validate it, this could be $1 million business. So instead of building software, instead of hiring a developer, instead of getting a domain name or anything, what I did specifically was I looked through my Gmail of every single person who's ever sent me a DocuSign or a hello sign. And I just made a list. I call it Dream 10, but you can do a Dream whatever. Mine was Dream 30 of everyone who's ever sent that to me. And I called them up and I said, hey, I'm working on this new alternative. How's DocuSign been for you? And they're like, I hate it. Oh, what do you hate about it? And so I talk about, sales, listen, option, transition. So I'm like, tell me what you hate about it. If I had an option that you paid once for life, $99, would you be interested? Yes. All right. Will you Venmo me right now? And I can show you my Venmo. I made $3,000. So my goal is to make $3,000 profit within 24 hours. And that is $1 million business. It's $2,700 a day is $1 million business at the end of the year. And so called a lot of people, got a lot of rejections. Even my people were like so excited. I hate DocuSign. I can't wait to give money. Do you want to put a refundable deposit down? No. Why not? I'd love to learn. Well, how come you're not interested? Oh, because I want to see it when it's ready. Oh, what do you need to see? And then they're not ready, and that's okay. But there's a lot of other people who are like, yeah, I'll put a deposit down for when it is ready. So now that I have validation that people are really wanting this, I'm found a developer. I'm going to give him that money. I'm going to go build it in the next 30 days.
What I love, and I'd love to point out here, is that you didn't ask people, would you buy? It wasn't like, hey, do you like this idea? Great, if I build this, will you buy it? Right? Why is that different than you ask them to Venmo you money? Why ask them to Venmo you?
I got a message this morning on Slack. So we have a beta launch team for the book from this guy named Petru. And he's like, I emailed all these people to pay $5 for my product. And one of them said, well, if it was free, I'll do it. I was like, thank God you found out now. Because I've done it the other way. BetArcade.com, this other software that I built, where I spent 6 months building something, paying developers, paying lawyers, getting all the design to find out no one wants it.
Yep.
And when and literally the book starts teaching you how to get started and teaching you about asking and rejection so that when people say, yeah, I don't want it, you're like, okay, cool. Maybe there'll be someone who does.
Yeah.
And when people say they don't want to pay, that is rejection. But they're just framing it in something else because they don't feel comfortable rejecting you straight up.
Yeah, that's really good, man. Yeah, I think there's this tendency that we want to build things that we want, that we like. There's a tendency to build things that, and our friends are all like, yeah, go, you can do it, right? At the end of the day, like, is it actually validating your business model if your friends just say, yeah, cool idea, way to go? Now, people just love to give people encouragement.
Well, and there are people that want you to succeed for sure. I don't think people realize how many people want them to succeed and how much opportunity they already have within their own network. They think they have to go outside of it and make it harder on themselves, and they don't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful, man. So what exactly, you said $1 million business, one that makes $1 million in a year. That's kind of how you define it for this. You want to, in a weekend, be able to, am I getting this right? In a weekend, be able to build a business and validate it so that you could do $1 million in a year.
No, I don't think it'll be in a year.
Okay. You think less?
Sooner. No. No, the $1 million can take a lot of time.
Okay.
You know, for me with AppSumo, our first year was $300,000 revenue. Second year was $3 million. You know, and 13 years later, it was $80 million last year.
Dang.
So yeah, which is insane. And you should always ask about profit and things like that. Because, you know, revenue is net revenue and then gross profit.
Yeah, we spent $79,900,000 on ads.
Which some businesses do, or they don't actually show you their business. You can see, you know, as much as I'm teaching it, I'm still operating in it.
Yep.
And so it can take time. What you want to do though is make sure there's $1 million opportunity.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. You're going to work your ass off either way. So make sure you're doing it on something that can at least make you $1 million. So people were suggesting do like, and this is a good example of it, hamsters. Remember hamsters as a kid?
Yeah.
Someone said, as
My daughter wants one really bad right now.
Yeah. They're like, why don't you do a hamster daycare business? And I was like, dude, hamsters. Yeah. I haven't seen a hamster in a while. And so one of the things I recommend is, and there's a section that breaks it down, is two key parts, which is like, is that market growing, dying, or flat? And hamsters is not, and what you can do is two pieces. You can go to Google Trends totally for free. A lot of things I do is fast and cheap because I want to find out really quickly if this is something people want or not. And a lot of my stuff, people are like, it's so basic. I'm like, yeah, that's the point. Yeah. So in Google Trends, you can go look up hamsters over the past 5 years, and it's like pretty much, it's not doing anything. And then you look up cat daycare. You look up dog daycare. So it's like, I can work really hard on a hamster business, and it's like not going to really, from a market perspective, pretty minimal. But if I did cat or dog, okay, that's interesting. So the same thing if you look at like document signing. You're like AI, document signing, versus other things. So it just gives you indications of how big the opportunity is. To make $1 million, I'm going to be curious to see how fast someone's actually going to do it. Because I think it could be a year. I don't have data on how long that'll actually take. But you want to make sure that you can get to that amount of income for yourself.
Yeah. I think it's important, to look at the address, I don't know, you call it like total addressable market and, you know, in the big business world, which is like, you know, there's like big business and then like just like, you
reality.
know, reality, just getting started. But like, you know, my first thought actually, when I read the book and I'm reading through it, I'm trying to think, okay, what would I do for a business? And I love to actually kind of brainstorm with this with
Let's
you
do it.
Bit, right? So I'm like, okay, what idea would I have? Well, you suggest in the book, I'm just going to take some words out of your mouth here. And in fact, there's a quote in the book. You said, the best entrepreneurs are the most dissatisfied people. And I love that line because like, I think that's what makes me a good entrepreneur because I'm constantly going like, oh, I hate that this is a thing. Like this is a frustration. So I thought, okay, where am I dissatisfied in life? Like you mentioned, you don't like DocuSign. That's annoying. Okay, that's a great example. So in my life, where am I frustrated? I hate that I want to have a date night with my wife every single week. But I have to call the babysitter every single week and rearrange a new babysitter. Maybe I get the same one. Maybe she'll come twice, but maybe not. They're usually busy. It's a headache every time. And so then what happens? I don't get a date night with my wife. So I thought, okay, so dissatisfaction, that's difficult. There's lots of people out there who have marriages and kids. So it's a huge market. And it's a problem that a lot of people have. They don't get dates because babysitting is just hard, right? So now obviously there's nannies, but most people just don't want a full-time nanny just for a date night. So my thought was like, okay, what if I had date night babysitting? Like that's the name of the company, right? How does this, am I on the right track here, right?
So I love it. And I love that you're solving your own problem. So do a lot of people have kids? Yes. I still think it's healthy to kind of put together a little bit of a business model. I call it the 1 minute business model. How do you make money on it? And then is there $1 million that you can make, right? So let's just say, how much would you pay for something like this? And I'm trying to show you, like how much would you pay for a date night babysitter?
$100, $200, something like that, maybe.
How long is that?
What? For like a few hours of work. Like let's say,
how much does a daycare or how much does a babysitter cost?
25. I don't even know. $25 an hour, maybe.
So it's like $50. You charge you'd pay $100.
Yeah, let's say I'd pay $100 if I didn't have to even think about it.
So you need to do 20,000 sales. To do that. And then so step back before we even get into like, can we get customers? Sure. What I do encourage people is like, how big is the market? Obviously, I think there's a lot of parents that want date night. But we look at the business model. It's like, all right, you have to sell 20,000 at 2 hours at $100. Okay, maybe you do subscriptions. It's like, hey, you can have a yearly subscription to date night. It's going to be $100 a month, so $1,200 a year. Okay, that's only 1,000 people you have to sell now.
That's interesting.
That's a lot easier for you to do. Again, super basic. I'm not trying to spend time doing a business plan. I'm just trying to make sure that, okay, can I make $1 million?
Yep.
Not the
Is that
total
possible?
addressable market really, which is important, but is there $1 million of money I can make? Now, in terms of validation, there's 3 ways that I like to approach it as. Let's literally do this. So one, we'll do pre-sales, but I'll hold off on that. Number 2 is like posting it. So where else do parents go online? Do they use like Nextdoor? Is there any like market? So
like,
number 2 is marketplaces, which is, all right, where are people posting that are saying, hey, I want money here. I'm going to spend money here.
Yep.
So I don't know. Like, would you post on Craigslist for a babysitter? Probably not.
Probably not. There's like care.com or I think
there's
it's called,
care.com.
like, something like that.
And then number 3 that we'll go back to the first one, which is pre-sale. I'm just doing the lighter ones first.
Yeah.
Third one is landing pages and ads. So, hey, I got this idea. I'm going to go buy a domain, $12, which I hate spending money. And then you're going to have to go figure out how to do ads. Then you have to set up a landing page. And now it's already taking you like a day, maybe even longer.
Yeah.
And you don't know something. So let's go back to the beginning. You had a problem, which I'd love. Do you know other parents?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. Who's the first person that comes to mind?
Cam and Lexi.
And are they in Maui as well?
Yeah, they're in Maui, yeah.
And do you think they have this kind of problem?
Yes.
Okay,
Guaranteed.
so do you think they're awake?
Right now?
Yeah.
What time is it?
Well, we talked about
Yeah,
literally
they're awake.
now. We talked about now, not how.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, and I don't think you're really trying to start another business.
You never know.
Okay.
Probably not, though. But
So one of the safest ways, and I would say safe because then you don't have to feel comfortable asking for anything. You call someone and say, hey, can I just get feedback?
yeah.
I got an idea. I just love to run it by you. And guess what? By giving them that idea, you ask for feedback. And at the end of it, you could say, hey, that actually sounds like something you might want if you were more interested, and you could ask for a deposit.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, would you mind just committing a little bit? I'll go invest in it. I'll go invest going forward with that.
Yeah, I could even see you brought up the subscription model idea. So let's just say it was, okay, $400 a month. I'm just throwing this out there, but $400 a month, and you get 1 date night every week subscription. If you don't use it, you lose it. So it's just like you get 1 per week. So either do it. So most people will probably only end up using 2 out of 4 anyway. So you're almost doubling your money right away.
Dude, I might need this
right?
myself.
Yeah, you will.
You can actually gift it to me.
That's
coming up.
Ooh, that's
you could
a
do
good
gifting.
idea. Yeah, you could gift it. Dude, that's
Well,
smart.
so a few parts here. One, let's just call. Do you think they're awake?
Yeah,
I think we can just find out. One, it'll be interesting. I think it'll make fun content. But 2, almost every business doesn't end up where it started, but you have to get started, right? Like, so by doing this, maybe it's gifting, maybe it's subscription, maybe you create it's actually the platform itself. But it's by getting started, you can get to that other place. Now, one caveat, I'll put a timeout here. One caveat, there's always a competitor. You said care.com. I know someone's watching this and be like, well, care.com does it.
Yep.
It's like, I know I don't know why there's more than one restaurant in your city. Because someone else already figured out food, and that you should just give up. There's big markets out there. There's different ways of doing things, and just because there's one other person doesn't mean you can't do it too.
Yeah.
So let's call and just ask him. Yeah, ask him what he thinks about it. Again, this is now, not how. It's like, all right, let's just call right away.
All right.
And so the outcome, I think, for you would not necessarily sell, but like, hey, here's my idea. What's your feedback on it?
Yeah. Cam was actually on the show Cam and Lexi were on the show back 6 months ago, something like that.
Man?
Cam Cathcart, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm so good. I'm on a walk right now.
Oh,
in
fancy.
Hawaii.
Well, you're also on a podcast at this very second with millions and billions of people listening to this, and you're on speakerphone right now with my friend Noah Kagan. Say hi to Noah.
Hey, what's up, man?
No, what's up?
What up, Cameron?
So here's a question I want to throw at you. You have young kids, and you and your beautiful wife need date nights, and sometimes babysitting is difficult for us, correct?
Yes.
So here's my idea. I just want to get some feedback on this idea. Would you consider a subscription model in which you are basically guaranteed 1 night a week a babysitter to show up at your house, who's been pre-vetted, who's got the the background check, all that stuff? You get to pick the night of the week, and they just will show up once every single week.
Yes. No questions asked. I would consider that.
Tell me more. What do you like about that?
I like the fact that it's guaranteed once a week, which I think is incredibly important, the consistency in that. I like the fact that they're vetted, that if it's a company that is hiring them, they're doing the background checks, they're making sure that they're CPR certified, that they're, Y and Z, I don't know, all the certifications that you need with kids. And it's easy. You pick the night and you get to do it every week.
I agree. That's kind of my thinking too. And I know sometimes we've got babysitters in our roster and nannies sometimes and all that, but it's hard to get the consistency sometimes, especially at night for date night. So that's what I'm leaning towards. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, and I think that there's another really cool part about it that I love is if it's subscription based, that means it's use it or lose it. So it almost forces you to go on a date night, because a lot of times we plan a date night, but then it's the week of and we're like, hey, we're texting 5 or 6 different people to come watch our kids and we can't find them and it's getting too close to it, so we just cancel it. But it's subscription based. It's like, hey, you're paying for it anyway, so if you don't use it, you don't. So it forces you to do date nights.
Yeah. Would you? I'm thinking somewhere around $100 for a date night. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, of course. 'Cause, I mean, that's probably cheaper than what. Because I mean, you think 4 to 5 hours at $20 to $25 an hour.
Yeah. So we might, and maybe there's a limit. We can figure out the details on how long it lasts for. But it's an interesting idea. So here, a question for you. I'm thinking about actually trying this next month when I get back. So like, okay. I'm gonna try to find somebody who I can guarantee it. So the question is, you want to test it with me? You want to shoot me over $400? I know it's a lot of money, but it's $400 for the whole month, and then we'll get you 4 babysitters.
I will test. Well, so we hired Madison. So we have that's one of her requirements.
Okay.
Yes. So she's our live-in household assistant, and one of her requirements on that is 1 date night a week.
Ooh,
but
smart.
I can do 2 date nights a week.
you could do 2 date nights a week. Well, the second question I'll throw at you then is, who else do you know that would be interested in this?
In Maui?
Yeah, in Maui. Who in your friend group has got young kids that would want it?
There's so many, like Ian and Bianca.
Ooh, yeah.
The Aherns. I know that their parents are here now. Matt and his wife. I'm blanking on his wife's name. Sammy and Spencer. I feel like there's a lot of young couples on Maui that have young kids.
I love it. I agree. All right, man. Well, I'll let you go, but enjoy the rest of your walk. Thank you, and we'll talk more.
Dude, love it. So you guys are live right now on a podcast? Or you guys just...
We are literally recording a podcast at this very second.
Oh, love it. Hey, Callie, say hi to Brandon.
Hi.
Hi, Callie.
Aw.
Good to hear. Good to hear your voice.
Can't wait for you to come back.
I will be back in 1 week.
1 week. We can't wait, man.
All right. We'll see you then. Have fun.
See you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Look at that. Hurts to ask, man. It hurts my soul.
Dude,
even one of my closest friends in the world, Cam, it still hurts to ask. But
that was really good. Great job.
Thanks. All right, what feedback do you have for me? I mean, where would you go from here, do you think?
Okay, so a few observations. And again, I think more people need to not give advice to people. So let's start with that. And if you're going to give advice, ask. So ask people if they want your opinion. Amazing work overall. I loved it. One thing you did that I have to call out, referral at the end.
Thanks.
And you made it easy. You said, who's referral? Who else on the island has kids? You make it people make referrals so hard. Can you refer me someone?
Yeah, that's super hard.
Holy shit. Just be like, who else has kids on Maui that you can refer me to?
Yeah.
Boom. Killer. What did you notice when you asked for money?
All of a sudden, it went from this is a great idea to, well, I don't really know if I need to.
You're my best friend. I'll see you at the party. Oh, you want money? Oh, jeez. And so there is some truth to that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe so at that moment, oh, hey, it sounded like you're really excited about this. Like, how come you're not as excited? Or how come that doesn't make sense for you?
Yeah.
And I think what you did a great job, and I think you could have done a little more of it, just ask questions to let him rise the problems. Like, hey, what do you guys like to do on date night?
Oh,
What's been a problem in finding a babysitter for you? How come you don't have someone like this? And all business is he's going to list his problems, so you're listening. He's listing them up for you. Then you dunk it with the option, like, oh, cool. Here's $400 a month. You'll have it, and we'll transition now to give me that money. So I really liked all the things you did. I thought it was overall really great. And I have to comment, because here's what people are they're gonna watch this and they're gonna be like, yeah, that's so easy. They're like, no, it's got to be harder. I gotta post it. I gotta tweet 2 things. I've got to buy some ads. I've got to write a plan up. And it's like, you literally found out pretty damn quickly. Now we make 2 more calls. You can find out, and people like that was right now. That was pretty interesting. Yeah. And that will lead you to the places way faster than. I can promise you there are people getting funding in Silicon Valley that are like, oh, we want to do a Care.com competitor. Yeah. And they're now putting a pitch deck. And they're spending 6 months. And they're pitching Andreessen Horowitz. And maybe they get funding. And we just found in a few minutes the real truth. And then you could build that up over time.
Yeah. And I think it's cool. You like some of that stuff like, oh yeah, what he does have a full-time house assistant that's now required to do a date night anyway. So like that took care of that. Other people might have something similar. So that leads me to, okay, one, how do I handle that objection in the future? Two, maybe my business model is flawed with that type of person or that type of demographic. Okay, maybe I should be serving a different demographic. Like, Cam's got lots of money, but flips 150 houses a year, something like that. Like he's fine.
Which is great.
Yes, but I learned. So like, even if nothing else, what was that 4-minute conversation?
Good for you, man.
We learned a ton of stuff. So
you're an asker. Cool. Dude, you didn't rethink your labels. Seriously.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that was fun, man.
How did that feel for you?
It felt good. It felt easy because it was a friend. Like, Cam's a friend.
Great.
It felt cool because I know that it actually matters, like the business, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't selling, to bring up wooden sunglasses, right? I wasn't selling wooden sunglasses, which I'd love to tell that story in a minute, but I wasn't selling wooden sunglasses, something that doesn't really actually matter that much. I was selling a real service to improve his life. So all of a sudden, I'm not selling, I'm offering something that could transform his life.
Yes.
And that's a fun thing to sell.
How cool is that?
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons at Bigger Pockets, back when I used to do the webinars, I did a live webinar every week for 8 years in a row, and I would sell their pro membership, and I was really good at it. I'm better. I don't think they've ever had a salesperson that could close even like half what I could do. Why? Because I actually believed in it, like that it could help people. Like, and I still do. You analyze deals, you make offers, you network with people, you will get deals. It's just something different when you're selling something that people are going to change your life. Like this book, right? Like you can be excited about this. You mentioned it earlier. You're excited to come here and film because you know that somebody's going to watch this video or they listen to the podcast. They're going to go and start a business. They're going to change their destiny and their destiny of their kids forever. Like, just gets me like goosebumps just thinking about
a lot of people think of sales or asking as like a real negative.
Yeah.
It's really or rejection is such a negative. Like, what if rejection is a good thing? What if selling is actually a good thing? Like, hey, I think this real estate course is going to change your life.
Yeah.
I think if this nanny thing for Cam, you will have more date nights. You'll have a better relationship.
Yeah.
This book, whatever it is, find the thing or create the thing that you're excited to not sell, but just tell. Like, you go and tell people, yo, let me hear your problems. I can help you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
good for you, man.
Thanks, man.
Good for you. I don't think we do enough recognition of ourselves. Like the fact that you actually did right now, you called.
I was curious if he'd actually pick up, and it worked out perfect. It was meant to be. So let me ask you a question related to this. Do you suggest trying to how do I phrase this? Do people want to come up with like that new thing? Like, this has never been decided. A monthly subscription, like that's a new thing, right? A monthly subscription revenue around babysitting. That's not real common versus dog walking. Very common, but could still work. Like, where do you think people should put their focus on when building $1 million business?
The thing that customers want. Okay. At the end of the day, what most people do is that they find a solution. Like, let's take AI. That's the hot thing.
Yep.
Today, last year was crypto. A few years ago it was blogging. There's always going to be new solutions, but the problems generally don't change. And so the problem is this something people actually want solved? Maybe Cam doesn't want that solved. And you can call more people to find out really quickly. Yeah. And you didn't have to spend a lot of time. So I tend to think that most of the best businesses are actually pretty simple. Yeah. Like AppSumo.com. We go find software deals for entrepreneurs. We negotiate a price and we send an email. We've done the same thing 14 years. Yeah. Like, it's pretty basic, right? Like Facebook, most of it, you upload your profile, you message other people's profiles. Twitter, pretty similar. A lot of these things, the cores are actually pretty simple. I do find it helpful to have comparisons though. Like, if you're starting a business like the DocuSign alternative, we're starting a DocuSign alternative. It's much easier to convince people or to have them understand if there's a comparison is what I've found out. Or like something that they're like, hey, I hated this thing, but this makes sense for me here. Yeah.
So let me talk about wooden sunglasses for a minute.
Please, dude.
So years ago, this is before I started Open Door Capital, the real estate thing. I was trying to figure out what I should do with my life. Like, what am I going to do to make more money? I was making some off my real estate. I had, level 1 financial freedom, but trying to figure out what do I do to actually earn like scalable income up, because as you know, rental properties can be fickle sometimes. We'll talk about that.
So bad, dude. Okay.
So I'm like, all right. So I bought a course on selling online, and one of the suggestions I had is go through Walmart and walk through every single aisle and find stuff that you think, oh, I could sell this online. So I did that. I walked through and I first found kites, like let's go fly a kite. And that's a cool idea.
That's cool.
Low cost. There's not like all the competitors were just terrible online. So I started that for a while, realized within a few months I just hated kites. I didn't care anything about them. Shifted over to what I thought was super cool at the time was these wooden framed sunglasses. I still think they're cool. And then I had a business plan and I worked it out. I hired my brother actually full time to come work for me to help run the business.
Just can I do a quick pause?
Yeah, please.
So how long has it been? So in this story,
Yeah, this
how
whole
long-
thing
how
is
much-
probably 6 months of time have gone by.
And how much money have you spent at that point?
Uh,
Ballpark, even with the brother you hired?
yeah, couple 20,000 maybe total in terms of all this. Yeah, right.
Interesting.
Yeah, So I'm now in this thing, and I mean, I'm buying these sunglasses from. First of all, I go Alibaba. I buy these wooden sunglasses. They cost me like $16, $18, something like that. I can go to Amazon and buy the same one for like $18, right? Fine, that's annoying. So I realized like pretty quickly like that it's just not going to work. But I bring the story up for two reasons. One, because it's a funny story, and I ended up giving up on it after a year total of time spent on this. This is now like, probably 8 years ago, before Rosie was born. So 8 years ago, geez. I spent on this time. I spent a whole year. My brother, which is probably $60,000 to $70,000 of salaries and costs. I sold maybe 200 maybe 150 pairs total. I think 100 went to you, to my friend Noah Kagan here. Because one thing we did decide is that we could, if we bought an order of at least I think it was like 50, we could get somebody's logo put on the side of the glasses. Yeah. I mentioned that to you in passing at some conference where I'd met you, or talked to you at a conference, and you're like, yeah, I'll take an order. And here, I want to say two things. One, I love the fact that you were just like, oh, you got this thing? Yeah, I'll buy some. You didn't like tell me, hey, good job, I like that idea. You bought some from me. I'm not even convinced you didn't just throw them away. Like,
no, give them to the team and customers.
Okay, good. You gave them away. So there was value there, but like, I just want you to know that it meant a ton to me that like I even choke up saying this, that you believed in me enough to do it. Thanks. And like, we weren't even that good of friends. It just was like, you were like, hey, this is an entrepreneur, somebody trying to do something. I'm going to support him and I'm going to give him money. So I don't know. You probably didn't even think twice about that, but made a big impact on me.
That is awesome. I think about it every single day. Every day, first thing I wake up is like that one day 8 years ago. I hope I get to see Brandon again.
Yeah, someday. Well, here's the last point I'll make about that.
That's awesome, man.
Would I have succeeded I'm curious your thoughts, at kites, had I stuck with kites for the last 8 years? Would I have succeeded at wooden sunglasses for 8 years now? There are wooden sunglass companies out there that are, I'm sure, making millions of dollars. Would I have made it? Should I have kept with? I mean, I don't think I should have. I think Open Door Capital was a way better option. It was already in my world. But there's something to say about, I'm sure I would have pivoted enough and come up with, asked enough people what worked, what didn't, to find something that would have worked here 8 years later. But I didn't. So it brings up, and I'll shut up because I'm dominating this.
Great. No, this is great, dude. I mean, this is a story that relates to so many people, man. Okay. I don't think you realize like how many people...
They try something. And
they try. Yeah. It doesn't work, and then they give up. That's like going on one date and deciding you're going to be celibate. Like, oh, I didn't meet the person this first date. Okay, I'm going to be. And I see it too with hiring. People hire and they're like, the person didn't work out. Yeah. I just have to. I'm the only person that can do it. I'm like, yeah, I know.
I've made that mistake many times.
And so every single successful person I know, they just keep going. Yeah. Whether it's going to be in the glasses is a separate discussion. Sure. But they're like, all right, this didn't work. What am I going to learn? And I'll try again. And then I try again. And then I try again. Yeah. That's why the ending chapter is literally called starting again. Because it doesn't always work right away. Even with me and all these things, as much as I've been experienced and I know I can do it, I can keep creating business. I just did one last weekend.
Yeah.
I literally did. But you're going to have to keep trying this stuff. What I recommend, though, now that you've experienced it, is like, all right, well, how could you find that out in 48 hours?
Yeah. It was way too long of a period, way too long of time, and a lot of money spent. In my head, the theory was, well, if I hired someone full time, like my brother, who's a smart, capable person, for a year, they'll figure it out. Yeah, no, and I didn't manage them right, and I was in the middle of a bunch of busy stuff, and there was a lot, but yeah.
I guess the two comments I would make, though, is that you can only put so many stickers on a Honda till it's still a Honda. Yeah. Right? So if it's not working, it's still not going to work.
Yep.
Right? But we think this magically, like putting more stickers on it gets faster. Yeah. I love Hondas, right? Like I drove a Miata to the airport today. But it's still a Miata. It was super slow. I was like in fifth gear, like this is as fast as it gets. But I think that the other thing that as I've gotten older, I've changed my perspective on things, which is at that time you had real estate, right?
I did, yeah.
And was it working?
It was working.
And so this is a thing that I've changed my perspective on, which is like the best businesses are the ones that work.
Yeah.
And so it's like someone even yesterday was like, oh yeah, this is working, but I've got 3 other businesses. I was like, just do the one that works and keep doing it. And I've done it where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna start this thing. I'm gonna start this thing. The most successful, literally anyone right now, go look at the most successful billionaires in the world. They're all got rich on one thing.
Yeah.
They didn't have 18 different things, but we're like, well, we're going to be special.
Yeah.
And so for you had real estate working, or if it's courses or whatever it is, just keep doing more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where we all get.
And that's what actually worked. Yeah, it was the real estate thing, surprisingly. And it's an industry that I know works. Yeah. I mean, shockingly, the thing that was already working worked for me.
Yeah.
Part of it, I think, I spend more time. Like I do some like a little bit of one-on-one coaching, not very often, but once in a while I'll like one-on-one coach somebody who's fairly successful, wanting to take it to the next level, right? And we'll talk real estate. I spend more time talking them out of real estate than I do into it, because almost every time the story is the same. They're an entrepreneur of some kind. They built a successful business, making $1 million, $2 million, $5 million a year. They're bored. They think that real estate is fun and sexy, and so they want to get into like flipping houses. And I'm like, you're making millions of dollars a year working 4 hours a week in your whatever, machine printing shop over there. Why don't we focus on making that thing a lot better, or making that something you don't hate owning, versus trying to back at square one to do real estate? So I guess when I look back on that, I realized I was bored. I was bored of real estate in that, like, okay, buy another rental property, make an extra couple $100s a month, deal with the tenants. Like, this is kind of boring. Instead, so then I tried a bunch of other stuff. None of it worked. So I went back and I did Open Door Capital, but I built it a different way. I was like, how do I build it so I don't hate it? Well, if I started right away with 5 employees, like from day one, I hired like 5 people roughly. And then we had goals. We built the company. We did 5x, 6x, our like goal for the first 3 years. And so I paid for everyone's salary. So in other words, I built the business in a way that I wouldn't hate. And that made all the difference. So I didn't change the business just because I was bored. I just changed how I was operating it.
And how do you prevent yourself from getting bored now?
That's a great question. Look at you, podcaster, YouTuber.
You can subscribe. This is the Brandon Turner's podcast.
Yes. How do you prevent a couple things? One, I never get bored helping people. Right? Like I've never been bored serving somebody at a soup kitchen. Like, and not that I serve people at a soup kitchen much, but you would never be like, I'm bored of this. Like, you always feel good helping people in general, right? Yeah. I got bored doing stuff I didn't like, not like where I didn't feel like I was helping people. I was just like doing the whatever, painting houses, like painting the inside of a house, like doing all the work myself. I didn't like that stuff. But sitting down, working with a team, like talking with Alex and Stetson, talking about how to grow a podcast, like that's always fun. I don't think I'll ever get bored of trying to help people be better at themselves and their jobs. So that's my answer. What's your answer to that? How do you prevent yourself from getting bored? Because you got a lot of businesses.
I've had a lot of businesses. I'm focused more. And when people talk about boring businesses, like success is boring because that means it's working. Yeah. Right. And the reality is that, like, let's look at other scenarios. Like if you look at basketball players, or even let's take my favorite. I bought my house from a football player. His name is Dustin Hopkins. He's on the Browns. He's a kicker. Do you think about what his day job is like? Okay. So he plays for 3 minutes a week and that's like a good week, right? What does he do on Mondays?
Kicks.
Tuesdays?
Yeah. Kicks.
Wednesdays?
Kicks.
Thursdays?
Kicks.
And then Friday, kicks. And then Sundays, I think he goes to church and has the day off. I think he's out here in Nashville. That's his every day. I was trying to think about that. I was like, damn, that really sucks. Okay, well, what is he doing differently to make that enjoyable for himself? And I haven't talked to him about it. But I reflect for myself, like, okay, well, he must, I'm assuming, love kicking. Yeah. And so how do we enjoy the parts of work that we actually just want to spend our times doing? So for me, at AppSumo, I don't do meetings before noon. Or I spend most of my time at AppSumo now promoting stuff like this, or with the marketing team. Yeah. That's it.
That's fun.
That's fun. I can't believe this is my life.
Yeah.
All right. And so it's like, find the areas of work where it hasn't gotten more, because everybody has something in their life that they've done for a very long period of time. And try to understand, okay, well, I've been with my wife for a long period of time, or I've done biking for a long period of time. And most people think, well, really? Yeah, everyone has something they've stuck with. Yeah. And what is it about that I can represent or parallel into my professional life?
That's related to a question I ask people every year on New Year's, like when we do goal setting. We just got done with that all this year. Yeah. Is I ask the question, what are you doing in the best areas of your life, like the area that you're crushing it? Like right now, I'm really good in my like environment. Like I live in a great house in a great town. I have great community around me. Like I'm good in that area of my life. I'm not so good in other areas of my life. So what am I doing in the good, powerful, strong areas of my life that I'm not doing in that area? So it's a similar concept of like, why am I, for example, health and fitness? Like, why am I not as strong in health and fitness? Maybe like I don't love the gym. I rate myself maybe a 6 out of 10 in terms of my overall healthiness. Well, what am I doing in the other areas? And try to extrapolate lessons there that I can then apply over. And that's been one of the more game-changing questions that I ask myself every year: is what can I do in the weak areas that I'm already doing in the strong? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess I've reflected on I do yearly planning, and I put it out on like Kagan.com. I put it out and people loved it. I've shifted in that as well, where I'm more interested in consistency and like very unambitious goals.
Yeah.
And so what that means is that AppSumo.com, our goal in 2023 was $45 million in net revenue, not gross. And then this year, and we ended up at, I think, 53. And then this year, our goal is 56.6. That is a 6% increase, give or take.
Yeah.
That is not, I mean, Silicon Valley, if you're not 2Xing or 10Xing, you're failing. And people talk about compound interest. I could talk about compound business and compound life. So for me, you know, I know you know Adam Gilbert as well. Like, how do you just keep going and improving a little bit? You know, Atomic Habits, best-selling book of maybe the century.
Yeah, it's massive.
Right?
Yeah.
One of his number one things was like 1% a week.
Yep.
So just apply that in a lot of your different areas of life. That's for me versus I would say my 20s and 30s was like chasing something new. Like, okay, I'm not weak here. Let me go do something brand new. It's like, no, this is working. Just keep going with it. And that's been a shift in my perspective. And I found that my contentment has been pretty consistent because I'm not always trying to find a new high. I'm not chasing something new externally.
Yeah. Beautiful, man. All right. I want to shift.
Don't shift, dude.
Man, I want to shift over and talk a little bit about YouTube and stuff you've learned from doing that.
Oh, wow.
I'm just wondering, is there anything else I've not asked you? I like this question. Anything else I've not asked you about the concept of $1 Million Weekend that people need to know before we talk YouTube for a little bit?
Instead of talking about the concepts of the book, I'll talk about the people of the book.
Okay.
And so there's a guy named Pat who does customer service in Poland.
Okay.
Right? I don't know. My mom's always like, how did he hear about you? I'm like, Mom, the internet's everywhere. She's like, I can't believe it. And so Pat had a day job that he didn't care for, and he dreamed of having his own business and freedom, the way he wanted to live. And so he took the initiative. And so now he quit his job last week. He sent me it was so cool, and I screenshot it. He sent me a calendar invite it says meeting with HR, where he quit his job to go run. He runs a YouTube consultancy. And I actually I rejected him. He wanted to work for me for my YouTube channel. I rejected him. And not intentionally, not to make an example, but it's like, no, I don't need you. But he keeps going and going. And now I think he's doing $24,000 a month in total sales.
Yeah.
This guy, you know, in Poland, they don't, you know, he's rich out there. He's doing well for himself. And the reality for myself, for Pat, for everyone else out there, what's the hard thing you're avoiding in life? That's the message I would say the book. The book is really it's a self-help book wrapped in starting a business. Yeah. And if we think about what's the hard thing, wow, got all quiet in here.
The air conditioning just shut off. Yeah. It's getting really intimate.
It's really intimate. And so it's...
Do you want to hold hands?
Just do it.
All right, Ren.
No, don't let go. Don't let go. Okay. I've actually, true story, went to naked yoga for guys.
Really?
That was a hard thing I faced that I'll never face again. They make you do partner yoga at the end because I was already fucking uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable enough doing naked yoga because I wanted to do an uncomfortable challenge a month.
Yeah. Naked yoga for men.
This is called gay yoga.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this.
Yeah, I think you don't sign up for the wrong
thing.
No,
it was only everyone there was gay except me. And I found out at the end because we did the partner yoga and you have to help the other people stretch. Okay, so that's for the extended access show. But I wanted to face. So the reality though is that we all have hard things that we can do, right? And they don't have to be naked gay yoga, right? And you don't have to be gay to do naked yoga, by the way. But it can be starting a business. It can be a relationship. It can be asking for a raise. Yeah. And I think that's what to me excites me about $1 Million Weekend is that people are going to think. Maybe they'll go and they'll want to have their own freedom and make, you know, millions of dollars. Or maybe it's just like, I want to be creative and do a woodworking business and get a few customers and feel, frankly, better about myself. And for my own story, I was like, can I do this? I don't know if I can do this. Am I worthy? Do I need people to tell me I'm good? Or can I just feel good about myself? And facing the book, working on the book, spending years doing it and helping people, I'm like, I can do it too. Yeah. And everyone else can as well. So that to me is the book, and I'm looking forward to seeing the stories.
I love it. Yeah, I can't wait to see them come in. All right, let's shift a little bit and talk about YouTube. Specifically, before I ask about like your process in YouTube and how you've done that, I want to know what you've learned from. You've talked to a ton. So for those who don't know, you go up to people's house. Like this, I mean, you have a lot of different YouTube stuff, but some of the most popular is you knock on people's doors.
Yes.
Or yachts. You'll walk by a yacht.
I've done streets, houses, yachts. Airports, first class passengers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Someone texted me, one of our videographers, Esteban. He's like, we should do ski lifts. And I was like, can people just not be in peace? Like, I have to bug people everywhere. Rich people anywhere, you better watch out. I'm going to find out what you do.
Yeah. What have you learned about the rich people you bombard with your interruptions?
I am interrupted. There's zooming out of it, I think there's a few lessons just in general from that. So one of the things in $1 Million Weekend is I talk about the law of 100. And the idea is, how do you not quit too soon? And so I'm asking people over and over. And so when I started my YouTube channel, I started it with not this phone, but an iPhone 10, shirtless, in my 800 square foot, like, piece of shit house. Like, literally, I was there a few days ago. The walls are cracked. The floor's cracked. It's rough. And I just started shirtless, and I posted on YouTube because I felt good. It was fun. And the same thing with AppSumo, which is now a pretty significant business. I just got started, though. And now, now it's like there's a team of 5 people. The videos cost like $20,000 to $30,000 per video to make.
Jeez.
But you have to get started, and then you have to stick with it.
Yeah.
You have to get started, and you have to stick with it. So that's one key thing. The second thing is that we tried all these videos, and finally around almost the 100th video, because none of the other videos were working in terms of the views, like in terms of growing it, we tried something different. And so it was interesting to be like, all right, I'm sticking with it, but it's not working. I have to do something new for myself and for the audience to respond. In terms of the content specifically, I'd say two key things have been fascinating. The power of asking. And I know that's not, you want a new thing, but the new thing is that this is the thing that's really interesting, is that just by knocking on a door and asking someone what they do for a living, I can meet someone new and I can learn so much. And so then you start realizing, like, maybe when you go to your dentist or you go to your lawyer or you go to your doctor or you go to a friend's house or you see someone with a nice car, you're like, what'd you do for a living? That's so cool. And just from that, you don't know what the upside can be. Just from asking, I've been on a private jet. I've been on a yacht. I've been on someone, Michael Hudner. I asked him on the street, what does he do for a living? He owns ship tankers. Put out a clip about him, went viral, 20 million views today.
Jeez.
Someone on our team tracked him down. We flew to Rhode Island and interviewed him about his life. Really interesting guy, really sweet guy. And then he took me out on his $4 million sailboat.
That's awesome.
Just because I asked. So I think that's a key thing, again, where it's like the upside of asking is unlimited and the cost of asking is a moment of discomfort.
That sounds like an asymmetric bet.
I've ever heard one. That's a great ass thing. Like, you can ask for a discount, get it, and the cost is that they might say no for a second. And it's something I still, to this day, I enjoy it. And I try to, with your glasses example, I try to not ask for discounts on people I'm supporting because I want you to have money and I want you to succeed. So I don't do it there as often.
Yeah, I don't think you asked for a discount.
No.
You paid full price. Thank you.
But I do at AppSumo, we do a thing called biannual review where we list every single thing we spend money on from software and contractors specifically, and then we evaluate it, and then we either ask for discounts or we cancel it. So we do that twice a year at AppSumo. The other part I would say from YouTube that's been fascinating is how many different ways of getting rich. There are so many ways of getting rich. There's so many, and because I grew up in Silicon Valley, I thought, like, if you're not creating a tech company, there's no other way to get rich. Yeah. And I remember, early on in my life, I went to New York, and this girl I was dating, we went to this apartment building, and it was so big, and go up this apartment building, and I'm looking around, I'm like, wow, and they take me this apartment's giant, huge windows, you can see everything. I was like, what does he do? Like, this is so crazy. And like, light bulbs. Light bulbs, or my current number 2, there's 2 of them, but number 2 person I want to interview, urinals, they got those little cakes. Yeah. Oh, there's a guy called, a company called Ecos, ECKOS. I pee on them all the time. Yeah. You'll pee on them. You'll see it next for the guys out there, or maybe girls too. I want to meet him. I'm like, dude, how did you start a pee business?
Dude, I think that too when I'm peeing on one of those.
It's like, how do you start that?
Yeah, who was like, here's a really good idea.
Yeah. So it's, and there's Jan who has strawberries. There's been such contractor people like that just do buildings. There's a guy who did renovations after fires and earthquakes. So it's just like, and I think the biggest thing is find something you're interested in, and you could get rich doing that. And that is so cool. It doesn't have to be the middle class path that I do think a lot of us are taught that you're born in that lane, you stay in that lane. And maybe ultimately, people ask me like, why you do it? Because like I'm already rich, and I don't say that arrogantly, but I don't need views. I do like attention. Yeah. And I'm honest about that. And I do like meeting people. I do like that puts me in places. But ultimately, I enjoy it. Do I enjoy all the challenge videos? Not all the time. I'm always happy afterwards. But I enjoy making content. I enjoy putting it out. I enjoy connecting with people. And even if a lot of people aren't watching, I'm still going to do it. And I've been doing it for 20 years. I'll do it for the next 20. And so that is, I think, a thing for everyone out there. Like, find the thing you're doing for free. Or find the thing that if you had $1 million in your bank and you could do whatever you wanted, you just do that. And for me, it's this. I like this stuff.
Yeah, I think I'd do the same if I could. Not that I have to do this either, but there's benefit to doing this, right? I raise investor money and all that. But even if I didn't get paid for it, never made another dime, just talking to cool people in cool places, traveling around the country, like that's not a bad life. Like
it's an amazing life.
Yeah, at the barber the other day, the guy was just asking me about what I do, and I was kind of telling him a little bit. And I don't want to like overwhelm people with like everything that I've got going on, but at one point he just stopped and he's like, dude, you have a fascinating life. I'm like, I I kind of do have a fascinating life. And it's just because I just say yes to a lot of opportunities.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, right. Just like, hey, like, should we start a podcast? Yeah, why not do it? Probably to the point where I'm doing too many, but like working on that next year, scaling back.
What do you mean? It's the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I'm working on that this year. It's going to scale back a little bit. But let me ask you a question about leadership, because how many employees are at AppSumo at this point? Lots.
I don't know. No. It's all relative.
Yeah.
I'm more proud. Candidly, I'm more proud if we had less.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm like, here's how we get to do with a few people. I think there's 73 teammates,
Okay.
and then we have around 30 full-time contractors, so give or take around 100 plus.
Wow. Okay. What mistakes or lessons have you learned in leadership that you've grown because of? You can go as deep or wherever you want to go there. Like wherever you.
Yeah, and I'll give some
learned.
specific examples. The first thing that comes to mind is I'm very critical of people, and I kind of just I call it the seagull theory. I come and shit on you. The seagull theory is you come and shit and fly away.
Yeah.
And so that's not really motivating. And, I was in a meeting with Mitchell and Ullman, and they're working on our AppSumo Plus as our VIP customers. And I'm basically just shitting on all their ideas. Like, hey, we should do this thing. I'm like, that's shitty.
Don't do this.
You want to do this other, where we give credits out to people. That's shitty. And then I ended the meeting. I remember this. I was in Barcelona where I spent half the year. And I end the meeting. I say, Godspeed. I don't know why I never say that. And I hung up on him. Right?
I'm out.
Yeah, I was like, and then, I was like, wow, how motivating is that for them?
Yeah.
How excited are they to show up for the company, for me, or for themselves today, or even the next day or the next year at this business? And you think about motivation for yourself. You're motivated when you're excited. You're motivated when there's like something cool you want to do, or something you want to go, or something you're a part of, and the person is also cheering you on. And that's something I've really worked on my leadership style about how to be more optimistic for myself, but also with other people. Let's even take an instance right earlier today. You called your buddy Cam.
Yeah.
What's the first thing I said to you? I said, great job.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
Yeah. Nice way to take the compliment. Most people don't take compliments. So with people you're working with, how are you acknowledging them? Because most of the time the money is at almost secondary. It's a lot of times like, just see me, recognize me. For all of us.
Yeah.
We all want to be like, hey, you did it.
100%.
Like even with my girlfriend, I was in bed yesterday and she's like, I'm so proud of you for the work you're doing around this book and how hard you're working. And I was like, thank you. I like hearing you say it.
Yeah.
I'm proud of myself, which is we all need to be recognized. Not recognize me, recognize for yourself. But it's nice to have that. And so with the people, how do you have more optimism for yourself and then for them to be excited to do it? So I called Mitchell up and I said, hey, I'm sorry about my behavior. And I think you're special here. And let's find an area and ways that we can work better together. And he was like, man, that was the best. And we had this follow-up meeting. It was 45 minutes. Then I went and got some tapas, and life worked out. And but it was calling him and noticing that he was like, oh, this is the best meeting we've had all year, the secondary meeting. And so you can make mistakes. That's part of leadership, and it's improving from it. And now other things I think in leadership, there's so much. There's honestly a book's worth of material and tactics and strategies. I'd say the two other things that have been insanely helpful, give more, but at least two. Number one, I do a weekly review of myself. And there's only 3 questions on it. I do it every single week for the past 3 years since I came back as CEO. 3 questions are, number one, how did you do as a leader in the company 1 through 5 and why? And this is a chance for you to just rate yourself. So like, how were you with Alex and Stetson and the rest of the people in your team? Number 2, was my leadership and my behavior consistent? Because what I've noticed is, for example, I'm working with someone on the book and I asked him to do something and he said, hey, I'm at capacity. I can't do anything. I can't do anymore. And this is 2 days ago. I gave him a task. And so my response is like, let me tell you who's at capacity. It's me. And you need to do your beep, 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 beep job. And then I didn't hit send. And I paused. And I deleted it. And I said, well, you're at capacity. Tell me what you're at capacity about. And let's see if there's a way to prioritize that differently. So I've been working on my emotional consistency because you know this, like if you worked with someone and they're hot and cold and like, yeah, maybe that works for Steve Jobs, but in the real world and dealing with people, that's not a fun experience when you don't know what you're going to get. Yeah. And so I rate myself every week, and knowing I'm going to rate myself, I gave myself a 5, not a 3. That was a 5. But the week with Ullman and Mitchell, that was a 3. Yeah. Maybe could have been a 2. I was trying to be optimistic. And then the last thing I do is the last question is, what are 3 things you're doing next week? What are 3 things that matter for you next week? That's it. And that has really been a shift in just recognizing for myself, Like how am I doing and how can I be better? And just having that acknowledgement has been helpful. Other leadership things, survey from the team. The best way you can improve is just get feedback, and you can just ask for it regularly. That's so cheap. Like literally right now, you can text your wife, what's one thing you like about me? This is, I learned from Uber. One thing you like about me and one thing I can improve.
Hey, Alex, grab the microphone. I got a question for you.
I bet you do not want to hear the answer.
Oh, I do. We're gonna start with the positive question. What's one thing you like about me? What am I doing well?
What did I tell you at December? You push.
I push.
You push.
Push others or push myself?
You push yourself.
Okay. What's one thing that I can improve as a leader? Just one.
Consistent with this conversation, you are, I'm going to be real honest. Can I be honest?
Be honest.
You are the most conflict avoidant person I have ever met.
No, I'm not, man. Shut up.
Which
you want to fight about
which
it?
is hard for me because I'm the most conflict wanting person.
I'm making a goal.
Hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
Suggestion?
Okay, please.
Tell me more.
Tell me more.
No.
We're gonna have this talk right now, man. Let's What do you want me to be more confrontational about?
What do you want to be more confrontational about?
What do I say, Noah?
No, this is great. So what's a recent time that he was conflict avoidant, and how did that feel for you?
I don't know because we conflict avoid.
And what would it be like for you to not have conflict avoidance or avoidance when you interact with Brandon?
I'm probably a unique case because I'm an over communicator. I'm like, I want to talk about everything, real direct. I'm military, mission oriented, real direct, real, like get down to brass tacks. And not everybody's that way. So I think maybe sometimes my expectations are different.
Do you think, it's a good conversation. Do you think, lately we've had a lot of conversations about the podcast changing. We're shifting some things around the podcast. We're going to go a lot heavier into more real estate investor content going forward. Maybe not entirely, but just heavier. We might even be changing the name slightly. We might be bringing in a co-host. We've got all these things that are coming. I made a lot of those choices just on my own, in my own head, just with, whether it's with Ryan, my coach, or just sitting there journaling for hours and hours and hours. Here's what I'm thinking out loud now is,
I love this.
Maybe the reason that we've not had the discussion together is because I don't want the conflict. I'd rather just lay down the rule. Here's what we're doing. Here you go, Alex. This is what the plan is going forward. Do you feel that way? Is that what? That maybe part of it?
I'm okay with changes, but do you want me to buy into the project?
It'd be nice.
Well,
we need to have a discussion about it.
If you want me to buy into the project that you want me to build, then, don't you think you should have the people who you want to build it with buy in? You can,
Yeah, but you might yell at me.
Well, I'm always going to yell at you.
I get you. All right, man. That's good. We'll talk more. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Look at that. Show done.
That was great.
What's that? Okay, thank you. I'm trying to be better at the conflict thing, and for sure, came up earlier. We talked about it. It's all related to the ask thing, but I find that area of my life is definitely when there's a lot of manifestations of the same internal problems.
Yeah, I have one of my psychoanalysts would say the only way in is through, and so I left him. Because I was like, well, you're not the right therapist. And, but there, that's true. But there really is, and we can talk about that specific situation. There's a lot of power recognizing the thing that you might want to work on and not labeling it so critical. I feel like you a little bit are labeling it such a bad thing for yourself, but hey, this is an area that I'd like to get better at, and not making it an all or nothing kind of like I'm good or bad at this stuff. But this is a way that you get better. So you do this quarterly, you do it monthly, or whatever you find the cadence is. And I've had this exact same thing. I came back to AppSumo 3 years ago, and I told them what we were going to do. Same exact thing. And I was like, here's what you're going to do. I'm Noah Kagan. Yeah. Look at my Twitter following. Clearly, I know what I'm doing. I'm a social media influencer, guys. I know how to run a company. Yeah, clearly. And they spent a year. So I had the idea that we take AppSumo, which has been highly curated, just very specific. We only do very few deals. And I was like, we got to scale, guys. That's what they say we're supposed to do. We got to scale. So we went from 600 deals to 13,000. And the whole team was resisting it. Every day, they're fighting me. And I was like, you just do what I want. And it was a great lesson that if you want people to do it with you, one, you have to get buy-in. And I have found the best people I work with actually challenge me the most. They're the ones saying no. And it's a little frustrating, but that's also how you even get better ideas. It sounds like you.
Yeah, I think sometimes I'm very challenging.
May have to work on that too.
Yeah, I'm certainly not perfect, but I do think I want what's best for the company, just like you do. Yeah. So, like, it's not like I'm resistant because I'm negative for no reason.
Yeah. Agreed.
That was beautiful. I really like that you guys were able to, and I'm guessing after this you'll probably have a follow-on conversation.
We probably will.
Probably not.
I know. But it doesn't have to be conflict. I mean, I think conflict sounds bad. There's, Jerry Colonna from Reboot. I love this guy. We use them as a kind of business coaches. And and I've but one of the things they say, which we do in all of our meetings, every one of our leadership meetings has a section called kvetches. It's a Yiddish word for complaints. But what's the thing that's unsaid that needs to be said? And that sounds like a great one. And so creating spaces, I hate when woo-woo people say this, but like creating time so that you could say it and then have a conversation. The other thing that you guys did that's a subtlety but is beautiful is ask people to tell you more about the experience and ask it in open-ended ways. How did that make you feel? What do you think about it? So use how and what. I find that to be super easy to get more open expression versus like, why do you do that? Because when I hear why, I'm like attacked.
Yeah.
So
that's a great point. All right, man. Well, we got to slowly start getting you out of here. So let's move to the next segment of the show. We're about a third of the way through. I'm just kidding.
Leadership is, man, wow. Oh, I was going to say the last thing with leadership is, so one optimism I think is infectious. There's a lot more like singular goals, which I learned from Zuckerberg, and reviewing yourself, getting feedback from others. And I also say coaches. Like I think we've spent $1 million or more on coaches in the past few years, straight up. And so I have a CEO coach, which is Eamon. He's our former CEO. We have Dan Putt from Reboot. I have Moody Glasgow, who's our marketing coach. He worked at Glassdoor and Zapier. And providing outside opinions. And what's fascinating about it is almost all the time they're telling me the things I don't want to hear. Mm-hmm. And so I have to pause for a second and be like, oh, I'm resisting that. Why?
Yeah.
But that's also how then you can become a better leader because you have people who've done other things or seen other things that I haven't done.
That's such a good point. Yeah, I'm spending well over six figures, on coaching this year for myself.
Good.
And it's not cheap, but even one conversation can change your entire life forever. So it's like, what's that worth, right? It's like,
that sounds pretty cheap.
It does sound pretty cheap, right? It's like, now there's bad coaches. You have any recommendation on how do you know you have the right coach? How do you pick the right person to help you?
If I go to a gym, I want the person who looks fit.
Okay.
And so for business specifically, I want to know the person who's done the exact thing I want to do. And so that is why I'm against a lot of the people on YouTube and being coaches. Yeah. Because none of them have show me the business you're operating today. Yep. Well, you've never done one.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And look, there are coaches like Bill Belichick. He played, D3 college and he's won championships. I want to have for me, my coach, like Moody Glasgow, CMO of Glassdoor, CMO of Zapier, Vice President of Marketing at Electronic Arts. He has done the thing I want to do. Like Zapier is $1 billion business beyond $5 billion valuation. Yeah. And they've done, I don't care about the $1 billion part, but they've scaled beyond where I've done. So now he's always bugging me like, Noah, your brand is confusing. And I'm like, Moody, I don't care about that. Let me do marketing tactics. I got to fix my Facebook ads or whatever. He's like, that doesn't matter. Because he's gone beyond where I'm going. He knows that's the thing I need to be thinking about. And so that is my number one approach. Like, have they done the thing you want to do?
Yeah.
That's it.
Brilliant. All right, man. Next segment of the show is called the 3-2-1 pivot. I love the word pivot, right? The idea being your life was going one direction. Something happened, and it started going a different direction, and preferably in the positive way. So I want to talk about 3 books that have pivoted your life.
Oof.
Is pivoted a word? I don't even know if it's a word. We're going to say
total word.
Pivoted?
Pivoted.
Pivoted.
Ooh,
can I verbalize?
Yeah,
verbalize.
Everything is made up.
Okay, we're going to make it all up.
All the words we have
they're all made up. Yeah, every word's made up.
New one.
Yeah, it's actually, in the grand scheme of things, every single word we use was invented by somebody at some point.
That's when people are like, I've got a unique idea. I'm like, no. It's really unique. I've never heard electric cars before. The electric car started in 1900. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Look it up.
It's a
Elon
pivot year.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. All right. 3-2-1 pivot. So 3 books that have changed the direction of your life, 2 people that have made the biggest pivot in your life, and then 1 quote. So 3 books.
3 books. I would say Million Miles in 1,000 Years by Donald Miller.
Ooh, yeah. Do you know Donald?
Lightly.
Yeah, I don't really know much, but did you ever read Blue Like Jazz?
I've read all those books.
Okay, yeah, Blue Like Jazz was a huge one for me.
I love, and it's Christian writing, and I'm Jewish.
Yeah.
And it's not, who's Bob? There's Bob as well. His friend Bob.
Yeah.
He's also a Christian author.
Is that Bob Goff?
Yeah.
Or is that different Bob?
I love
Okay,
Bob.
Goff.
Bob is legit. I love Bob Goff.
Bob is one of the greatest speakers I've ever heard. Yeah.
He put his phone number in his book.
Yeah.
I called.
Yeah,
he
he answered.
He's not bullshit like a lot of these other people. It just irritates me. And Bob is the real one.
Yeah.
He's a thug.
Yeah.
Bob's that love thug life.
Yeah.
So Million Miles in a Thousand Years, and so
I've not read that one of his though. Okay, I'm gonna read it. Now it's
I'm
on
gonna
my
gift
list.
it to you.
Oh, I would love
do you
that.
do digital, physical, audio?
I like physical.
Okay, I'll get
All
you
right.
it. You want a secret? Okay, this is a quote from my cousin is in the army in Israel. He's like, you know the difference between remembering and forgetting?
Writing it down.
Writing it down.
Yeah.
That could be a bonus quote.
You know what I do for writing things down? This has been a game changer. Just super simple tip in my life, but it has made such an impact. I hooked up a Zapier.
That's their problem.
Yeah. I hooked up a Zapier to like a phone number to so a text message phone number to an Asana like board. I have an Asana, that's what I use, right? That my assistant runs. So now instead of me texting my assistant and hoping that because it just goes in the middle of the night or whatever, instead of me putting in Asana, which I won't ever open up the app Asana, scroll. Yeah, it's complicated. I just text, because texting is the easiest thing in the world. So I just say, text Asana new, thank Noah Kagan. There it is.
Oh,
Asana
wow.
new. Thanks. Okay. So I'll send. I'm not gonna send it now. And my assistant then will now on her list. She looks at every single day. Is this a list of that? Anyway.
By the way, that could
sorry.
be a business.
What? It could be a business.
So things that
texting-
you're doing that are make your life easier, save your time.
that I had to go through several steps to get. If just one thing could,
So
Anyway, now I don't forget things that I text my Asana. Anyway, sorry. keep
yeah.
going.
So Donald Miller, Million Miles in a Thousand Years. I love that it's a self-help book, but not taught in like you should love yourself and you need to like yourself. And it's told through his own story. And his own story was, I'm not happy with my life, which I think a lot of us have these moments. Like I was talking to someone even literally earlier today, is I don't like my job. I feel stuck in these areas. And Donald Miller writes a story, which is true, about how he didn't feel that way and how you can change it. You can change your job, you can change your geography, and you could change it right now. That's literally what we talk about in the book. And so one of the things that he changed my life was that he took a bike trip across America.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so in the book, it's how he's fat and lazy and like he's not inspired and all these things. And so he's like, you're the author of your own story. You can write it however you want. And so he just decided to bike across America with some other people. And that inspired me to bike across America. So I've been on a bike across America journey. I do now segments every year.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because of Donald Miller.
That's
so,
awesome.
And it sucks. I just biked from Phoenix to Albuquerque 2 months ago. It sucked. We have to work on this. But anyways, I like that his point is about we can all live a great story, and it's available for everyone, so you can go do it. I would say $1 Million Weekend.
Okay.
I would say it's been a pivotal book for me to feel confident that I can believe in myself.
That's a good answer. Was that 3? Or was that
No,
2?
that was 2.
Okay.
That was 2.
You got one more.
Pivotal books. Can I look?
Yeah, please. I know sometimes when there's like hundreds of books, I'm just like, well, what's the one I gotta say?
Yeah, well,
Can help
I read.
people
I use Goodreads. Goodreads.
yeah.
I still track and rate every single one of my books. Oh yeah. So yeah, $1 Million Weekend by me, written by me. Audiobook by Noah K. Now,
Did you record the audiobook on it?
I did. Oh my god, that's so hard.
It's the worst thing I've ever done
I
in my
didn't.
life. I hate it.
Much respect. It's like I'll tell you, respect moms.
Yeah.
During your first trimester.
Yeah.
Lots of respect. I don't realize how hard it is for them.
It's
so much
terrible.
respect.
Yeah.
And then recording an audiobook is nowhere near as hard as being a mother. Let me just shut up right there.
I don't know, man.
Yeah. The
just
third
get
book, I
canceled.
would say that changed. A book to me is like 5 years, 10 years later, am I still different from it?
Yeah.
Right. And so the third book would be The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
Oh, I just bought that one.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah,
banger
I
of
only-
a book. It's a
a
bang. It
chapter in,
definitely,
but
it definitely inspired. It changed my life because all my life I knew I liked making money, and I knew I was good at that. Like that's a skill, and I thought, what a useless skill. It's kind of funny, right? Like I'm not like Alex where I can hook up microphones and I know that there's like a thing called gain.
Yep.
And if you sit further away, the gain changes and like the ISO ratings. And I never thought I could take photos. And that book, I would say, liberated me to feel that all of us have creativity in us. All of us can be creative in a different aspect, whether it is a business creativity or it's an artistic creativity. And that felt liberating. And one of her number one thing in the book is called Morning Pages. It's journaling for people who are wondering. And her whole thing is every single morning you just write, and there's no rule. You just have to do it every morning. And so I have now done that maybe 4 years, every single Monday I do it. I found doing it every day didn't add for me, but every single Monday I just journal.
Yeah.
I just write whatever the hell is on my mind, and then I write things I'm looking forward to in the week. And yeah, now that was a profound impact where I'm still, one, doing it, and two, it just made me feel empowered to be a creative in my own way. And it's for all of us too. And I love that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. All right, man. Next, 2 pivot people.
2 people. I would say my girlfriend, who's now my baby mama.
Okay.
It's so cool to have a baby mama and
Baby
be able
mama,
to say that.
yeah.
Yeah, like I'm her poppy. You know, like to be able to say to be a poppy.
Yeah,
you know,
that's great.
She's Latina, for people wondering. So that's why I'm saying poppy. You know, I was reflecting why I'm feeling so happy about life and so calm about life and so just excited to be alive. And a lot of it, I would say, is traced back to her. And it's her kindness. She's just so kind. To me, she's kind, and to herself, and to even my mom. Like, my mom sent me a shirt that says, like, forecast 2024, you're going to be a dad. And it has, like, things that happen for dads. And I'm like, it's, like, such a trash shirt. It's like,
Yeah.
And I told my mom, like, please don't send me. I sound like such an ungrateful son, because I am. No, but I was like, Mom, thank you for the gift. I love it. But I'm going to Spain, and I don't really want more clothes. I like the clothes I have. Can we not send me more clothes? And she took it pretty negatively. And then Mafe is like, don't be mean to mommy. And she calls my mom and talks to my mom for an hour and a half. And she's like, tell your mom that she can always just message me about gifts. And she just does that time and time again to everyone. And it's just been such a good influence.
That's great.
Because for me, I think I'm not kind to myself a lot. I think all of us are pretty much the meanest person we have is ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, like if we talk to other people the way we talk to ourselves, we
Yeah.
end up in jail.
Yeah, yeah, right. Or someone said, talk to yourself like you do to your child, and you
yeah.
would never talk to your child the way you talk to yourself.
Oh,
but yeah, she's
so
just been such a good role model of that, of behavior, and I never thought I could find a person like her. I just, was talking with Alex, the producer, videographer guy. And it's like, is someone really going to exist that's like that out there? And it's like, yeah, you just have to believe. Yeah. That is literally optimism. Like, there is going to be a guy or girl, as well as a business or a life out there. And it's been amazing to find it. And and it's not always great. Like, she got mad at me. Let me ask you a question. The real question here. Okay. You're going on a flight with you and your wife.
Okay.
She's an aisle woman. You're a window guy. Now you're buying seats. You're not doing business class. How do you buy the seats? Just how would be your approach?
I would buy the window and the aisle, knowing that I could always trade one of them later on, but there's a chance it would sit empty. But that's how I would do it.
If you buy, I just had this happen to me the first time because I fly a lot. If you buy a window and your girlfriend buys an aisle, you are not allowed to talk to each other across me.
Dude, well, so she told me, I'll tell you that. Yeah, so I just learned to,
I just had that happen, and I was like, doing this the whole time, and I was like, unacceptable. You guys are jerks. This is terrible.
Yeah, I learned that too. So we're going to Spain in 2 weeks, and she's like, you need to ask me. We need to sit together. I was like, that's right, baby mama. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm learning. I'm still improving. It's patience. But yeah, just so many great, it's made my life so much more stable, so much more like fulfilling, just everything. Yeah. And then to be a father, which is a whole another episode. I'd say the second person, I would say my therapist. Not the one I ran away from. It's this guy named Dr. Larry Janeski out of Austin. He only does remote. And yeah, I was thinking about a lot of the changes. Like, I used to have a very extreme, like, all or nothing mentality. Like, if it's not everything, then it's nothing. Or I'm like partying a lot, or I'm chasing a lot, or I have a lot of anxiety being alone. Like, my dad, who was an entrepreneur, would leave me at home alone to go work. I think he actually went to go party, but he would say work. And then I'd be alone and anxious. And so it was just so many different areas that I didn't really enjoy in my life, or I was struggling with. And just like showing up every week or every other week, like I'd say over the past 2 years, have had a profound impact. Where in all of aspects of my life, I like how I am. I like who I am. And I would definitely say he doesn't told me anything to do. He just asked the questions.
Yeah. Yeah. I love a good therapy session. I've got a therapist as well I don't talk to enough, but it's always valuable time, and it's ridiculously cheap compared to like a performance coach. Like if you hire a $10,000 an hour performance coach or an actual therapist, they're way cheaper. Yeah,
well, I think that's funny. Branding.
Yeah, like it is. All it is branding.
My therapist, I don't know if you can. I don't want to say his, but let's just say it's $250 an hour. Yeah. I've gone to a business coach who was $1,000 an hour. I was like, dude, you're the same.
Yep.
I was like, that's good marketing.
Yeah, and one guy has got a way better college degree that he's charging way less. Yeah. Those guys could probably take a lesson in branding and make a lot more money.
But just and I think therapy, it's zooming out on this. I always like this idea of zooming out. Like, let's take every professional athlete has a coach or has someone to talk to and work on things. But in other areas of life, like I had a friend who was having a kid. And he's like, I'm just going to see how it goes. And I was like, oh, when does that ever work? Like go get a doula for babies, or go get books, or go get coaches. And you start to recognize like you can get a therapist to work on your brain. Yeah. Like pretty damn amazing of what you can then change. Maybe in real estate, like get a coach who's done this stuff before.
It's amazing that we will buy coaches for some aspect of our life, but things like I've still never been to a marriage therapist. Now part of it, my wife doesn't want to, but I'm like, I once heard a good friend of mine, him and the fiance now, they have, from the day they started dating, like the first day they went and saw a couples therapist, and they've done it every single week since. It's been like 4 years. Wow. And they said, and they've never had a fight now because of that. Because from day one, they had the expectation of, we are going to, like, why would you wait till your business is failing to go and hire a coach? Like, why not do it along the way? Why wait until you're out of the NFL to go hire somebody to help you with your kick? Like, you do it along the way.
Shout out to Dustin Hopkins.
Yeah, but why not do that? Why not do that in our marriage and our parenting?
There's certain things, like everything that we know, we just don't do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
It's like the journey is the destination. Yes. Everyone knows that, but they're like, I just need to get to the destination a lot fucking faster.
Yep, and they'll get there. All right, so pivot quote.
The quote that I think is subconsciously ingrained in me is the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And I actually didn't know what that quote meant, but it means that if you ask for something or you speak up for something, that's the thing that gets paid attention to. And I have noticed, like, even last week, I bought Ray-Ban glasses because I do some of my YouTube filming with the smart glasses.
Yeah.
They didn't work. The new version doesn't work the way I want. And I messaged them, and they're like, oh, the refund window is 60 days. And I was like, okay, let me at least ask again. And I was like, okay, well, can you make an exception? And they said, yeah, we can. I was like, oh. That's kind of cool. That's cool. So I was able to return the glasses, and that's something my mom said a lot, and she still says this a lot, and she still, and I think it doesn't mean you just ask, it also means you follow up. Yeah. Right? Like, you want to be on someone's show, you want someone to be your girlfriend or boyfriend or customer. It's asking, getting it so people do, I guess, put grease on you, which is not really appealing. If you think about the concept. Yeah, but if you start asking for the things, you'll start getting things.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a biblical principle. I can't remember if it was Jesus or Paul, but he says, like, you have not because you ask not. It's in the Bible. Yeah.
Do you know where that is?
No.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, we can search it. Yeah. And then I think it says if you do ask, you ask with the wrong motives, is what I think is the full line. I'm probably butchering that. Alex is going to look it up, I think, though.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, you have not because you ask not. All right, man. Let's do past, present, future. This is a big rapid fire here. Advice to your younger self.
More positive self-talk.
Okay.
Way more positive self-talk. Where, even yesterday I told you, me and my girlfriend got upset with me because I was like, well, I got you the aisle and I got a window because I thought you'd like that. That's what I was trying to. Yeah. And, I think then I would normally go off on this negative narrative.
Yeah.
And as I've gotten older, it's just like, when you have a negative, just tell yourself a positive.
Yeah.
So when you've made a mistake, like, okay, I made a mistake, but I'm not a bad person. And I think I wish I would have had a lot more of that in my 20s and 30s. Leading me to my 40s.
I'm telling you, though, the window aisle trick, you did it right. And then when you get on the plane, there is no person in the middle seat. If somebody does end up getting middle seat, that will not trade. There's no person in life that wouldn't trade with one of you. So you can, the asymmetric bet.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Right? You always do the window in the aisle. You leave the middle open. People probably won't book it, so you probably have nobody next to you. If they do book it, though, then you just trade with them on the plane, whatever one you want, whichever one wants at the point.
What I was gonna do, I was gonna just have my assistant buy the
book
middle.
That one. Yeah,
book the middle.
Though I've heard that they can still give that seat away if they don't check in.
Yeah, because then you go stand by.
Yeah, exactly. You go stand by and you lose it anyway. But anyway, it gives you options later, but it gives you the best chance of having nobody.
Literally, one of my dreams is by 50 flying only private.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, baby, sit wherever you want. You want all of them? Take all of them. We can all dream. It's good to have dreams.
Here's another younger question. I never asked this question, but I think it'd be fun to throw at you. What would your younger self say to you if they saw where you were at today?
I'm proud of you. What 20-year-old knows, it was like, damn, that's fucking cool, dude. Yeah, dog. I think that's what he would actually say.
I think that's what he'd say.
What I think about was there was a guy named Prashant, and I was sleeping on his floor, and just like, what's going on in this life? Like, what am I doing here? Why am I on this planet? And I think seeing me today, feeling just content with how things are going, and it's not always great. and being okay that it's not great, and sometimes it is great. A lot of times it is, and I think it'd be very just like, dude, so cool. Like, it's so cool. Like, I can't believe I get to live this life. Like, I'm glad it did. And I think that this is another cliche thing that people don't. I don't think most are going to absorb, and maybe a few will. Is that it really does all work out. It really does. And I think for me to get to where I was to where I am, and for most people, it's actually closer than they think, where they are and where they want to be. I think I just wish I wasn't so like frustrated with myself along that way.
Yeah.
Because I think I would have probably ended up similarly to here, but it was just like along the way, just much harder on myself.
That makes sense. What's a habit or action that you've implemented in your life in the last 12 months that's given you a better life?
The thing I talked about earlier in the show is dramatic change in my leadership. So weekly review, and you could change that and just change that to whatever it is you're working on.
Yeah.
So if it's your relationship,
Yeah, it could be a marriage review.
Yeah, it could be a marriage review each week. And I like the idea of one, numerical, and two, it's just for yourself.
Yeah.
Mine goes to my chief of staff at AppSumo, not mine, the chief of staff at AppSumo, and she does look over it. She's like, you've been really good lately, so keep it up. But it's just nice to have that, and you can do that in any area.
That's cool. What about your legacy? And when I ask the legacy, I'm talking about someday you're going to die. People are going to be standing around talking about you, saying, oh yeah, Noah was what?
Yeah, I don't believe in legacy.
Okay.
Because I think when we die, like all the benches that have your name on it just get like removed.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. All that stuff.
That's why I like the idea of what do you want them to say about you?
Yeah.
Think about you.
Yeah. I think the reason I say that is who knows what happens afterwards. So just do it all while you're here. Like spend it all while you're here. Donate it while you're here. Enjoy it while you're here. I think what I'd like people to say, no, it was fun. No, it was fun.
Yeah.
Like it was a fun ride with that guy. Yeah. Like that guy was fun. And I think for myself as well as for others, generous. And I do think sometimes the things we say about ourselves either are very, very true or very, very untrue. Like, wow, that guy's a cheapskate. But I'd like to think that people will say, like, he was fun. I smiled with him, and he was generous to himself as well as to me.
You bought my wooden sunglasses.
Dude, hell
Thank
yeah.
you. All right. Next and last segment, we call this a wrap up. First one, what are you excited about? I think that's obvious. What are you excited about in the future?
Yeah, well, that and the baby. That's
whatever.
Yeah,
whatever. But the book, man, that's what we're
my paper baby, my real baby.
Yeah.
The other thing I got to just quick comment. Okay. I don't even necessarily remember these glasses as much as it.
Yeah.
But I think that's actually so powerful that you can make someone's life.
Yeah. Just by kindness.
Yeah.
Just by momentary kindness. Yeah.
And it's we're all moving so quickly. We're all so busy. We're all like replying and texting and DMing and whatever, moving on to the next thing, and literally just buying, I don't know, $100, $2,000, $1,000 of glasses stuck with you.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you know Dan Martell?
Yeah.
So Dan tells a story when he was on the podcast. He tells this amazing story about this correctional officer when he was in prison that just like poured into him and had this great conversation and changed his life forever. And Dan thought about it for like a decade, went and tracked the guy down, found him, and the guy was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, he's like, I said nice things to a lot of kids over the years. Like, he had no idea, but it made an impact. So, yeah, you never know who you're going to make an impact on.
Yeah. So try to be a little bit kinder to yourself. It makes it easier to be kinder on others.
Yeah.
What was the question?
Well, yeah, the book. What are you excited about?
Oh,
the book?
I mean, the book.
And the baby.
The book. My two babies.
The two babies.
The paper baby and real baby. The book. I want to see what people are going to do for themselves. Like, I don't make money on the book. I don't like the amount of attention I have is more than enough. I'm very content with the amount of attention. I'm curious to see how people are going to change their lives.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious, and they'll start in 2 weeks really getting the book, and then let's see how that goes over the next 5 years, 10 years. Yeah. And the thing I would be clear for everyone out there is people always think I need to impact a lot of people to make a difference. It's like, why not just one? So I'm not necessarily, if 1 million people read $1 Million Weekend, I don't care. If it's 990,000, that's fine too.
Somehow you'll live with that.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
Whatever.
I think, and then the baby is. I never thought, and maybe people out there, I never thought I'd be able to find a partner that would like me, or I could be with, or be able to have a baby and be a father. So I'm very excited. I'm nervous. I want him to be healthy. It's a boy. We're naming him Brandon.
I was literally just gonna go there, man. I was gonna ask you if it was gonna be like the full Brandon Turner.
Kagan.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was hoping. I was gonna give you permission not to use a middle name. You don't have to. I'm gonna give you that easy out. But if you wanted to do with it, it's fine. It's a
Brandon
good, strong
Turner,
middle. Yeah, strong middle name.
Medium pockets.
Yeah,
Kagan.
That's perfect. I think that's a great idea.
I gotta tell Mafe. She's
yeah,
good.
Yeah, let her know.
Yeah, and I think the father thing, I'm really excited.
Yeah,
I just can't believe it, and like I feel fortunate that I started years ago to do entrepreneurship, so that I have the flexibility where if I want to take decades off, I can, or if I want to be, and I think you asked about leadership. Leadership is example. Yeah. Like, how are you showing up? and what are you showing for your son or your daughter? And so for me, it's like, all right, well, let me have my work life the way I want. And my son will be like, wow, that's cool. Maybe I'll do that, or maybe I'll do something else, but at least he has a good example of it.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to enter that phase. It's wild and it's amazing.
It seems like, what's your one father advice? I've been asking every friend of mine who has kids.
I'm gonna give you a very, very tactical one. It's simply, it's easy to remember, is never let your kids see you on your phone. Like
that shit, dude. Look at this.
No, I don't. I'm not perfect at that rule in any way, but I think it's a fun goal to shoot for, is to never let my kids see me on my phone.
Tell me more.
You
about
are
that.
really good at it.
I'm terrible.
You're really good at it.
You think I'm good at it?
I think you're really good at it.
I try really hard. I think that we live in an increasingly distractible world where we're all just getting sucked in right to our phones. Every one of us is addicted to our phones. It's like there's different levels of addiction, but we all have addiction to our phone. And I think like lessons are caught, not taught. And therefore, I didn't invent that, but I love that phrase. They're caught, not taught. So I can tell the kid all day long to try to control their addictions through life, or they can see a real example of dad controlling his addiction. So that's my theory around
Thank
phones.
you.
Yeah. Well, man, last question of the day. Where would you like people to connect with you, to learn more about you, to follow you, all that good things?
$1,000,000weekend.com.
That's a good domain name. Did you buy that or they're free?
No.
I mean, it's $8.
Well, no, it's actually a funny story. I bought $1,000,000weekend.com. I bought mdwbook.com. Someone who was in my beta launch team got it and was like, hey, I've been holding on this for months. I wanted to surprise you.
Oh, that's
his name is
super cool.
Derek, and he gifted it to me.
That's awesome.
And so that was a $12 thing for him, but now if he needs help, it's funny, the small things that stick.
Oh, and buy your kid's domain name.
Yeah.
So BrandonTurnerKagan.com.
Did you also get their Gmail? I
didn't do that.
I got my brother's kid.
Oh, now I have to do it before the episode airs or somebody's going to take
I
it.
got my brother's kid Gmail.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Text Asana new. Get Rosie and Wilder's Gmails.
Yeah.
There it is.
I thought that was like a really nice gift. Oh, you really sent it? Awesome.
I literally just sent it. Now I won't forget it. Now I'll talk to a cat about it.
Difference between remembering and forgetting. Whenever people give you like, oh, that was such a great recommendation, and they don't write it down, I'm like, you're gonna remember that?
Yeah.
Why don't you use the thing you're addicted to and put it in there? But yeah, I got him the Gmail, and he's like, fine. I remember I got my Gmail account. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I got rejected from the company. I didn't get the job at Google, but that is what I asked for.
Yeah.
When they didn't hire me, I was like, can I get the Gmail account that I want? They're like, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I really want BrandonTurner.com. So if anybody wants to make that happen.
Who has it?
Some other guy named Brandon Turner. I don't know. I need to fight him.
It is, dude. It's been funny. I've done that a few times. Like my favorite restaurant in Austin is Uchi, and so there was an Uchi Co. That's one of their other restaurants. And so I found the person in Japan who owned it, negotiated with them, paid $1,700, got Uchi Co. Hit up Tyson Cole, and I was like, bro, I just got your domain for your restaurant, and he says, what's a domain? And I was like, I literally thought I was the man.
Yeah.
And then
that's a cool move.
He put me in touch with his marketing person. He's like, that guy understood what was going on. And then they gave me some gift cards. So it was nice. But it was a nice gesture. I like this Gmail. I like the domain one.
Yeah. Very cool, man. All right. Well, $1,000,000weekend.com. And what are you on social media?
At Noah Kagan.
Easy.
NOAHKAGAN.
Does it worry you that there's now a famous musician named Noah Khan, and you're not that dissimilar in spelling?
Is he worried that there's a famous business person named Noah Kagan? I'd like to do a concert together. Maybe
should.
I'll do the marketing and sales business, and he could do the singing.
It's a really good idea.
It was interesting because I saw him on the come up maybe 6-7 years ago, and I was like, please don't get famous. Please don't get famous. And then he's got all this like Stick Season shit. And I listened to it, and I'm like,
that song's
it's a good song.
It's a good song.
It's a
Stick
good.
Season
If
is
you don't like that
legit.
song, dude.
Yeah.
So Noah Kahan, as you watch this, holler at your boy, DM me, and we'll work out something.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.